and be a little brattier than my other ones. Keep in mind, I'm still grateful. A lot of this shit is horrible and horrifying, but I know that there is some sort of greater purpose to all of this. I really think that it's probably connected to, well, October was End the Violence Month. And it was about ending domestic violence. It was very fitting in my mind. I've never seen anybody do an End the Violence Month before, so I was like, that's synchronistic. Um, but as I have been pointing out in most of my videos, I'm taking everybody's advice, both the good guys and the bad guys, the wisest and the people you should not probably take advice from. Everybody's advice is do what is best for me. So I'm going to do what's best for me. And on top of that, my DM Rudy's well, third wife, Tina, is attempting to get me proven unstable. I'm sure that his first wife, Sheila, and his sisters are probably also doing the same thing, which I find highly amusing. It's like the pot calling the kettle black. Like, even if I am, I mean, you made me that way after 20 years of doing that. And I'm pretty sure I'm not because I'm the only person who actually got me and Rudy into therapy. So he and I and our oldest son and our youngest son are the only ones. Well, I think his daughter actually went in after her mom wrapped her up in a horrendous fucking court case while she was stealing someone else's kid. Um, in any case, or using the system to steal someone else's kid, which is what Tina likes to do too. So we're the only ones that have actually gone through therapy. And I and my oldest son stuck it out a year after that. So it's like almost 4 years of therapy. And I am, myself and my son are the only ones that actually have a clean bill of health, like psychologically. And we're not afraid to go back in. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you're going to take me in, if you're going to try to prove that I'm unstable, you have to go to court. Or I have to do something that's actually unstable. And like me sharing my feelings on Facebook and YouTube, not exactly unstable. At least not enough that the courts would say, yes, she can't have access to her own children, who she was the one who solely raised while Tina was around creepy touching everybody. But here's where it gets bratty. And the reason I'm doing this is for me. Because, one, I get tired of so many people saying that I'm trying to trick them when it's clear that why they think that I'm trying to trick them is because I typically take the higher road. And I don't usually do this stuff. But I'm a whole I'm a whole person. I have all sorts of feelings and all sorts of stuff. It's not 100% grateful all the time. It's most of the time though. Like, and I like that because I like that. I like that for me. It's not a trick. Like, I like being in great gratitude energy. Gratitude, joy, and playfulness are some of the most powerful energies in the universe, and they're not ones that it's kind of like love, like genuine love. You can't really hold it in your hand. I mean, it just, it's not a, like, it can be tangible in many, many ways. You can see the products of genuine love around you, just like you can see the products of toxic love around you. But it's not a thing you can hold, that you can keep, that you can demand, that you can own, which is what people like Tina and Sheila like to think about it. It's like, I mean, the hard part is like the proof is in the pudding. Like, look at y'all's relationships. You're still cheating on people and stealing from people and bullying other people, and none of y'all have situations where it's like, can I come over and just see how it is? No, because you got shit to hide. Like, that's my main thing too. Is like, I almost never ask my parents for assistance unless it's financial, because they are not well. um, but one of the things I'd ask to them when I went on my trip, and even here, was, would you please simply go over to Rudy's house? He was here, and I had them ask him, are we allowed to come over to your house? And he said, yes, anytime, because that is his typical codependent answer to everything, rather than, well, he could have done. My favorite thing about him is, like, in those moments, the healthiest response for you, even if you have nothing to hide, is give me a call anytime you'd like to come over. Plans are a little bit all over the place because, she's got a lot of kids and stuff, and I'm taking on Joey. So, I mean, I want to say anytime, but There might be some times that we're busy. That would have been a mature adult answer to say, but no, I knew him. I knew he was going to say, "Yeah, you're welcome anytime," just like he does with his work, and then come bitches and moans when they actually take him up on that. And I'm like, I have no control. I have told them not to listen to that, but they don't want to listen to me because you like to put on a fake everything's all good attitude, and they trust you because you go for what's polite over what's honest, just like they do. And so I knew he would do that, and I knew that Tina would get into her creepy touching stuff and her scamming and bullying and iron fisted ways, as he says. Which, by the way, honey, when you watch this, when you say that somebody rules children and you by iron fist, you know what that means? It means you're saying that she punches you, and she was probably willing to do that to children. So it's not just creepy touching that we're talking about here. And they I just said, look, don't get into the drama. Don't do anything. I'm not asking you to even tell me about what you see. But they're at least going to threaten to take me to court. They've threatened for a while and still have yet to follow through. At this point, it's like, are you guys really such cowards? Like, I would be happy to go to court with y'all. You want to go in? We can all get checked out by therapists. Let's do it. I love psychology. And I have zero reasons not to be authentic, not to talk about everything, not to use all the evidence, not to show everything I'm doing on Facebook and YouTube. Like, what reasons I got to hide anything? I don't. People can come over to my house at any time as long as they're not threatening to hurt me. And which a lot of in fact, what's funny, everybody except Rudy has done that. And it's one of the, no, I'll give it to us. His daughter has not, which to me is like, you know, obviously, even for his lesser traits that he has, that to me is a product of him. Because his mom certainly loves to threaten people and is definitely the type who loves to body shame. Like, I just put on this thing on my Facebook where I was looking through my own pictures on my own Facebook where there's Sheila on there. Like, we had a picture of Rudy and his daughter at our blue house putting together a bassinet for baby Joey before he was born. And instead of saying, "Oh, that looks like a fun activity," or "Oh, Rainey, you look really great," no, what does she say? She starts calling Rudy a chubby beanpole and saying that her daughter, is really skinny, but isn't a beanpole yet. So she's calling her chubby and shit. This is when she was 13, right? So, I mean, I don't know. What worries me is I have a feeling that the similarities between her and Tina, like the one thing that I did not peg her, Sheila, as was a creepy toucher, but I have a feeling that she is too. And it's probably going to be revealed through all of this shit because she's the one who confirmed that she picked Tina to be able to wrap Rudy up in so she could have her affair with Phil at his house. Not cool. Not cool, ladies. I mean, really, couldn't you have spent your lives doing something at least more creative than that? Anyways, where this gets deliciously bratty is that my Rudy Bug has this way, I know it's part of how they've wrapped him up and stuff, of giving away exactly what you need to know in order to get what you want effectively, either through bullying or doing things like that. A simple example is like when he was last over here, little over a month ago, so not that long ago. He was saying, I was talking about how him having our youngest, it'll be great because now they can watch the adorable children's movies that remind both of us of our relationship and shit like that, and remind him that his creepy toucher, Tina, does not like children's movies, and she does not like tea, and she does not like smiling, and she does not like Christmas, and she does not like Thanksgiving, and she does not like pretty much anything. And he had sent a movie for us to watch. It was Vivo. It was fucking adorable. And he kept saying this thing, like, I haven't gotten through the end of it yet because Tina's being a creepy toucher. And he says, don't ruin the ending for me. I haven't seen it yet. And I looked at him and I said, see, honey, there you go again. If I really wanted to ruin things for you, you just told me how. And my point in saying that to him was like, dude, you are such a gossip and you self sabotage, and you have people around you who are intentionally trying to sabotage you. When you tell them exactly how to do that, even on simple things like that, you leave yourself unprotected. And then you listen to them when they say that it's your own fault. And it's like it is and it's not. It's very simple. If you were around safe people, you could say whatever you want. Like you could say that around me. I'm not even going to talk about the end of the movie Vivo on my videos because I appreciate that he would say, "Hey, I haven't seen it," because he likes it and he wants to see the end of it. So I never ruined it for him. But my point is, like, you give it away. And so what makes me laugh is while his sisters and Tina and Sheila have been saying that because I do DoorDash in Marysville, where they live, that I've been stalking them. And then I come to find out not like because I've never driven by their house. The last time we had an argument because Tina could have no fucking boundaries, and anytime he brought it up, oh no, and I was in a car accident once. I had brain damage. You can't expect me to change. And then when that didn't work, oh, I have borderline. You can't expect me to change. And then oh well, I'll just fucking beat you up if you make me change, or I'll tell people that I pushed you into pushing me back, or I'll fucking tell people this and this and that, which, by the way, honey, no, she's not going to. If she was going to fucking do that, she would have fucking done it by now. The same shit with self harm. I have very, very big empathy for people who actually have suicidal thoughts that get to them. But you don't sit around and use those to manipulate people. If you're having intrusive thoughts, if you're feeling like doing that, you go to therapy. You get some real fucking help. You don't sit there and use it whenever shit isn't going your way, or when you're feeling insecure, or when you feel like shit isn't going your, like when you're not getting the type of attention that you want. That's not appropriate. I have no fucking space for that. Anyways, what makes me laugh is like she's been spying on my page like the whole fucking time, whole 22 months. And they've never seen me drive by their house because I never fucking drove by their house. I actually told several people, including his, well, I want to say his older sister, but he's got older sisters in other states, but I'm going to say his older sister because she would be the older one out here and relevant, that I'm really proud of myself. I never fucking once drove past their house after that last time that I said, until y'all have some fucking, until Creepy Toucher has some healthy fucking boundaries, the kids can't be there. And they don't want to be there during that. They don't want to see her creepy touching you and the other kids. They don't want to see her yelling at her fucking kids. They don't want to see her slapping the fucking 2 and 3 year old whenever she feels upset about shit. Like, don't want to fucking see that. And so I never once drove by there. I had his sister, I had his sister's friend, I had people on my end, all suggesting that I should drive over there for various different reasons. Some of them wanted me to get dramatic. Some of them said he was trying to get me in on the drama. It was his way of asking for help. Others of them said I should go and help because clearly they have challenges with food and money and other things, and that I should go bring them food and money and other things. And you know what? Most of the time, I just said no. The rest of the time, I said, you know what? I'm really proud of myself because, yet again, it's being suggested that I do something that is not appropriate. And even if it was appropriate, I'm not going to do it because Rudy needs to learn stuff on his own. Like, you can have some, you can still be there for somebody without rescuing them. And there's no fucking reason to get into the pirating. Like, either way, it got confirmed to me through multiple paths, his sister, his sister's friend, other people, that Tina was enjoying going around telling everybody I must be stalking them. And then when I talked to him about it, and he admitted it in text, so I have a fucking screenshot, he said, well, you know, her sister got into her head, which tells me her sister has also been stalking me along with his sisters. And it's like, do y'all really not have anything better to do? I mean, really, even in the beginning, like, I was actually working on my fucking healing. And I was in my own fucking lane the whole fucking time. And y'all spend your time spying on me because my existence makes you feel insecure. Because most of the time, I don't even do shit like this. Like, because like, why? Why? But I'm seeing the value in it though, because it's like when you go on to buy something, like say on Amazon or Walmart or whatever, like, you know, get it cheap and fast site. I was telling my oldest son about this because he's just learning how to buy stuff online and shop. And I said, look, you want to be careful because, like, if you look at a product and you look down in the comments, if you don't see any bad reviews, if you know, like, let's say you see no reviews, you don't really know what to do with that. If it's not been reviewed at all, it either nobody's really buying it or you take a risk, right? If you then instead see one that where it's got only good things to say, like either they're deleting the ones that are bad or they're paying for the comments that are there. And I know this because I was a part of the internet boom early on, and I used to, in fact, I was one of the earliest article writers on a site as far back as Tryon, and I used to write for eHow and all sorts of, like, yeah, like I was there for it. And so I know how this stuff works. Like, I mean, I there's only a few times that I'd done some social media stuff where I like purchased some fans, but I got out of it even before that people started saying that that was inappropriate because it felt inappropriate. Like, I'd rather earn my stuff generically. I've been actually doing that with this channel because I mean, I know a lot of people that have their channels, they don't buy people to get on there, but I know a fair amount of them also do in order to get up numbers to get to that first like 1,000 on YouTube and things like that. And part of my both an experiment and proving to myself that I can do good with it. I have never done that. And it's probably part of the reason that I'm still just under 2,000 subs. But, like, I like that. I would rather people find me generically because either they were looking for something that I talk about or because Spirit brought my content to them rather than, like, worrying about how many readings I'm doing or keywords and things like that. Like, I know how to do all of that, but part of this is let's just see who Spirit brings my way and who Spirit brings me to. But I was telling him, so what you want to look for is a product that has reviews that are both good and bad. Because especially if these people are selling plenty of them, as they want you to think that they are, there's going to be times when some of the products are duds or they break or they don't work. And you really want to look for if something needed to be returned or did not work out as well. Did the people say that they had a good time with customer service? Did things get fixed pretty quick? Stuff like that. And I talk about that because, I mean, if you come back to Creepy Toucher Tina and Bully Sheila, it's kind of one of those, like, they're not able to ever stop and just say, yeah, I did that pirate thing and it was not okay and it was not good. My parents can't do this either. Rudy can do it better than any of the rest of them, but he still has a hard time with it too. Thankfully, my boys can do it. I'm like, yeah, me, that's a good mom thing that they're able to say, yeah, I did that thing, good and bad, because you can get people to also go the other way and say only bad things about themselves. But if you can't flow as a person and recognize that we all have shadow and light, that's a much bigger problem than somebody showing their shadows and their lights. And so for me, it's like, I'd imagine that part of the reason that people think, well, not people, but pirates and potatoes think that I'm tricking them is because I don't typically go on and talk about everybody's business, and I don't talk about my feelings about it. I have to get out of the car, so. Anyways, the interesting thing is that the more I've looked at it over, darn it. Do you have, hang on a minute, guys. Dad, do you have keys for the Hyundai?
What?
Do you have keys for the Hyundai?
On
you. I just need the alarm thing. If you don't, I'll go get it.
They're right next to the...
Okay, the answer is no. Thank you. I'll go get them. Anyways, guys, like, so the main thing to me is, like, every time I've gone through something over the past 22 months, like, I thankfully, Spirit brought me some really great friends that helped me work on this because I was worried, like, what if my shadow side is, as dark and deep as the pirates? Like, I was worried about it, especially because everybody kept telling me, don't be like Sheila and don't do this and don't be like the exes and don't do this sort of thing. I guess I'm not going to sit in the car. I'll just stand. That's okay. In any case, I was worried about it. And it was actually my friends and even my therapist, or our therapist, that pointed out to me that even at my worst, I'm actually pretty, what do you call it? No, I'm not normal, but, like, It's very mild. I mean, like, think about it. I mean, I'm certainly not doing my worst, but I have no intention to do my worst. But at my worst, like, my shadow side is that I talk about people's truths that are not comfortable, you know? And that, to me, it's not something that I like to focus on because, I mean, I'd rather let people come to a place of their own truth on their own. But I recognize that I was brought into this world to do some of this, and I'd rather not hide from my shadows. I would rather let people see my shadows and see that I don't have anything to hide. And it also kind of provides that same sort of energy of when you're looking to buy something and you're looking for reviews. I often will look, like when I'm looking at other readers or coaches or people to talk to, like I look for the same thing. Are they only showing light? Because if they're only showing light, it's very likely that they're either not there yet in terms of being able to show that they're a whole human, or they're hiding something and it's not genuine. And I don't I don't spend a lot of time being skeptical of people, but I kind of just, it's like over time. It's the same thing on the other end. Like if you're listening to twin flame stuff and they're only focused on karmics and third parties, like it's not even just about are they in a place where they can own that they're calling in that energy. It's also like how much of that do you want to call in for you? Like, I stopped listening to karmic and third party readings for the most part, other than a couple of readers that I know are very balanced in their energy, because it's not just about the other readers. It's like, if I'm looking for this information, for one, it's energetic spying, and I don't want to do that either. Two, like then I'm more focused on these karmics that clearly make sure that I have some focus on them at all times anyways because they can't go without trying to feel either like the most important person to everyone or like they're at least scaring everybody into leaving them alone if they don't want to play the Tina and Sheila and them as the most important game. Um, but or not but and so where I'm at today, it's getting back to Rudy giving away exactly what it is. So, Tina's been stalking my page for ages. It was actually quite fun and beautiful to just be sharing my feelings and the stories of these nasty pirates. And I know that she was the first one to go around calling all of them, telling them that I was talking about the nastiness that they've done when I did not have any of them on my friends list because I unfriended them a long time ago, like a grown ass woman because they ain't doing nothing interesting. I've no allegiances to them, and I've been tired for a long time of watching them bully people, including their own children and mine. So it was interesting to see Tina doing her own situation because if she had been a stable grown ass woman, she probably would have just said, "That's unfortunate. I'm going to leave that alone." But you see, what happened was one of the nights that I was on my vacation, that my parents and our oldest son went out with them to dinner. They were there at a buzzin', and this is the story as it was relayed to me by my two sons and my two parents, because my two parents are not exactly the most credible witnesses. And so my mom, or Joey had decided to sit with my mom and my oldest, Eamon, and Joey's 10. He hadn't seen him in about a week, and Grandma was tickling him, and they were having a good time, and it was all very appropriate until Tina reached under the table, like almost climbed under the table to start tickling him on his thigh because she couldn't stand the idea of him getting attention from somebody else without him getting attention from her too. Gee, I wonder what kind of person has those problems. Maybe it's the borderline that she's not having managed by an appropriate mental health counselor. That could probably be it. I don't know. But I checked with everybody as much as I could. Of course, I can't ask Rudy about it because he gets overly sensitive and dramatic whenever I talk about it. I wonder why. And so I put a post on my Facebook, And was talking about how inappropriate it was, for one, for her to do that in a restaurant in general, two, to be so insecure that she couldn't allow my and Rudy's 10-year-old to have a sweet moment with his grandparents and his brother without her having to have her hands on him, like literally. And I didn't even say it in a mean way. What I said was, it's inappropriate touching for the length of relationship they have, considering all of her mental health challenges and lack of boundaries. So, what she decided to do was to tell Rudy and Joey that I was making up lies about her and effectively calling her a creepy toucher. And then they told my 10-year-old that I was being mean to her. So, of course, in his sweetness, he thought I was just being mean and said that. And the post in question, I actually prayed for her a lot. I really genuinely pray for her. Yes, I have my shadow sides. Yes, I have my human feelings. I still recognize she is a human being too. I don't actually see her as broken as everybody else does, or as she tells everyone that she is. For one thing, because it's not an excuse. Two, I know she could get better. I've seen her fake goodness to be able to get away with her gold digger shit, so I know she's fucking capable of it. And on top of that, if she's not capable of it, that's an even bigger sign that mental health assistance is necessary. But where Rudy gave it away was that he told that to Joey, and then Joey's brother, my oldest son, called him and told him they did not show you the whole post. And I was sitting right there, and I watched her do that inappropriate touching. It made me feel uncomfortable too. And it's not about trying to get at Tina. This is inappropriate and unhealthy behavior. So what made me kind of laugh, though, is like, I said a lot of stuff about her on Facebook. I called her out as abusing Rudy. I called her out as abusing her own kids. I called her out for tricking the res kid that she tricked from the Tulalip reservation into living with them, only to military style raid him whenever she wants to get everybody scared and under control. And the same kid ends up getting into fights that end up bringing people over to the house that are angry and have guns and knives and things like that. And her own fucking children like to play with knives and scissors and shit. But the only thing she got offended about was that I talked about her inappropriately touching my son. And you know what that made me realize? Aside from the fact that that means she is a creepy toucher, that's probably something that she's been doing for a while. Now, I don't have confirmation, I heard from Rudy's sister that and her ex, Chris, before that, who openly talked to me. I did not ask him for information. He just gave it to me. That she had her own children taken from her through CPS because she was using heroin and cocaine and getting into domestic violence. I did confirm that she has many domestic violence charges and stuff. And she wasn't, at least nobody relayed to me that she was upset at about that stuff at all. But she really, really is offended at the idea that I said it was inappropriate to touch him like that. For one thing, it's rude and impolite in the middle of a fucking restaurant. And for two, it's really creepy that you went under the table to do that to a 10-year-old because you had no fucking boundaries to be able to say, you know what, this is an appropriate moment for him to be sharing with his grandparents. That's a pretty simple, normal, mature, adult fucking thing to do. And so what it tells me is, aside from the fact that it's kind of like, don't tell me the ending, you'll spoil it for me, it's also telling me exactly what her big fucking secret is, and probably why Rudy is so fucking embarrassed to talk about anything, because she is a creepy toucher. And I have a feeling that's also why they're threatening court and suggesting they're going to have me called unstable while also not doing it, especially because his entire family creepy touched him growing up. So I'm sure that they also feel like they really, really would like to not have this go to court, because if they're going to try to have me go to court, I'm going to say I'm happy to see another therapist. I've already found a couple of them that I've been talking to because I liked the last one we had. We didn't have enough really relevant experience with neurodivergence, or even the stuff, even the end result of stuff for diagnoses with Rudy. And I really I want to have somebody that's much more versed in neurodivergence, because those are the areas where I have a little bit of challenge, A lot of people do. ADHD, a little bit of autism. It's nice to have some support. But Here's the thing, I'm not afraid to see a court therapist either. Like, why would I be? What reason do I have to be afraid of it? But I know that they're very afraid of it, and I know that they are because of their repeated cowardly habits of suggesting they're going to go to court and then not fucking doing it. And so now we sit in this place to where I did my bratty thing this morning. I never let myself do this. It's much more like his sisters and shit like that. But I thought, you know what? I know that they're bullshitting and they're bluffing, and I know that they're going to screw it up on their own. And I don't like that, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know what? This is y'all's karma for being cowards and for being creepy touchers and shit. Like, that they're probably not going to do anything court wise because one, I have a ton of fucking evidence to back up all of this stuff. And for two, if she was actually to go see a therapist, especially through a court that has to do with children, she would probably not only lose access to my children and her own children, she would probably be told she's not allowed to be around children at all unless she decides to put actual effort into getting her borderline personality disorder managed. And I actually have a ton of space for people that have BPD and borderline. I know many of them on all sides of the spectrum, people that have gotten help, people that have not gotten help, people that found help without the system, people that got help with the system, people that get help with meds and without meds. I've met people that have been misdiagnosed with borderline because they had more spiritual experiences. And on the other side, there's so much in there. I have space for mental health stuff. I really do. That's part of why I'm so compassionate with Rudy. I know that he has reactive attachment disorder and CPTSD from all these fucking people. I know that the reason he's not a creepy toucher is because he actually got some genuine love from some adults in his life. He did get creepy touched by some others also, but he actually has the basis from his childhood to know that that is wrong and to not do that. Whereas apparently none of the rest of them really learned that sort of shit. And it's really unfortunate to me that everybody, including in his family, will sit there and make every fucking excuse why they're better and they're self righteous and they shouldn't have to be involved, and how they're really mad about rivalries they have with Tina, and they're mad that Rudy got love that their parents did not give them, which I get. That's fucked up. But y'all all fucking adults. Y'all got your own fucking bullshit to be working on if you're gonna be fucking hypocrites and not actually be there for children. And like in the post that I put on Facebook too about Sheila body shaming Rudy and their daughter is like, here's my example, okay? This was 10 years ago. It still continues, but it's on my Facebook page, on my pictures, right? Of stuff we were doing at my house. And she's there body shaming in public. Like, I've got lots of evidence like that, so it's not just Tina. I've got it around all of them. And my feedback to his own family is like, y'all let that happen. And not only did y'all let that happen, you encouraged it. You enjoyed teasing the shit out of him until it took, like when we were together, it took 6 years before he would even consider wearing shorts because he had been teased so fucking relentlessly by his family and by his first wife and others, including Tina, about being too skinny. And to the point to where he has disorganized eating. So he does this whole kind of, it's almost like bulimia, like, but it's disorganized. That's actually a thing. You can look it up. Disorganized eating is a thing. But it took forever to say, honey, you're fucking beautiful. And anybody that's been cutting you down, they're doing it because they don't feel good about themselves and because clearly they were abused too. So don't take what they have to say to heart. Part of them, it's subconscious. They're treating you the way that they've been getting treated. And the other part of it is, don't ever listen to somebody who's trying to cut you down, you know? But when I put that up there, I was thinking, like, especially to his sisters who like to get so self righteous about, well, I'm really the one who raised your daughter and I did all this good stuff to you, while constantly draining Rudy of all of his money, constantly guilt tripping him if he wasn't there to fix their washer and dryer or faucet and shit like that. And his own brother, who doesn't fucking help with shit, saying guilt tripping him for not being there and fucking helping when he was constantly the one since growing up that was made to sacrifice for all of them. And yet they could sit there and see that Sheila was body shaming him and their own fucking daughter. That was when her daughter was 13, okay? That shit's been going on for a long fucking time. Did they do anything about it? No. Because in their minds, there's nothing wrong with body shaming people. It makes you a pussy if you don't like being body shamed. Gee, I wonder why their brother has so many challenges standing up to people. I wonder why their own lives have not been going swimmingly and that all of them are in similar challenges of constantly living paycheck to paycheck, constantly worrying about having to be in a relationship because, for them, if you're a woman, you have to have a man to take care of you. It doesn't even matter if you like him. It doesn't matter if he's got addictions or is abusive or not good for you. It doesn't fucking matter. You need that man to take care of you because even if you can make all the money, you gotta have somebody in your bed, right? No, you fucking don't. No, you don't. No, and that's a shitty fucking reason to have a relationship or to keep one. All around. This is 2021. Not only are we women fucking amazing that we've already been doing an incredible fucking amount, but you can't really sit around and criticize how a man's fucking doing when you don't have your own shit together either. And then the similar stuff with the men. Because guess what? We women might be more able to bitch and moan about those sort of situations, but the men get into it too. And I've not seen a damn man in any one of their families or half of the families that I know around, including my own fucking family, that can actually say, I have had a few years at minimum on my own. Because you know what? They had the same fucking fear that if they're alone, that somehow means they're broken, or that they can't do it, or that they need help financially. I remember when Rudy told me in the beginning, I have a bunch of texts from him talking about how much he realized he made an incredible fucking mistake in helping Tina that night. And everybody I've talked to told me that they are sure that she put the nail in her own fucking tire and it wasn't even her fucking car. It was her ex's Chris's. And she did that to get Rudy to come and help her to be damsel in distress. And then that night told him all about how, she'd been using men in order to have cars and laptops and a place to at least have her oldest because she wasn't allowed to see the rest of her fucking kids, and that she'd basically been using sex and her body to be able to get people. And by the way, I have lots of space for sex workers. I've done work with them in terms of running consent booths and political like advocating and shit. I have no fucking problem if you're consensual about it and you tell people. But she openly admitted to him, and he told me because he's like that, beautifully honest and also a bit of a gullible gossip, and that she told him that she knew it was wrong. Actually, let me take that back. She did not tell him it was wrong. He told me that he told her, that's not the right thing to do. And the impression I got was that either she did this kind of, oh, I know, or that she didn't care. But him, being the gullible sweetheart that he is, his sister said it's much like believing that the lap dancer is really in love with you. I kind of agree. It's like, yes, radical honesty is something that it's hard to find from people, but it's only radical honesty if they're not telling you the whole truth to manipulate you, which is exactly what she did. And he was telling me about how she had used and intentionally created drama with her exes so much that she was afraid to go to her own house in California because her ex down there was a gang member and she was afraid he was going to shoot her. And while we went to dinner with her at the Buzz-In early on, she was having arguments on the phone with that ex who was trying to forcefully take the radio out of her car down there and fuck up her house that she had full of people from NA that were living there for free that she then had Rudy pay for. Gee, wonder why I'm in a bit of a bratty mood, right? Anyways, what makes it interesting is like, I mean, if I was staying in all benevolence, of course none of this would be happening. But part of my larger intention is to actually have an effect on the wider world in terms of helping people who are creepy touchers like Tina and gold diggers actually get the help that they need and that they deserve. And if that means showing my shadow side here and there and letting myself be a bit of a brat, I will do that. Because it's more than me, Like, I'd had many talks with Rudy about this, especially like when one of his friends had been abusing their son. And I said, and especially when the situation started to turn out similar with the res kid that she tricked and stole with her love bombing and bad boundaries and now abuses, that it was really messed up that he did not stand up for that for his friend's kid and the way he needs to with the res kid, that she tricked him into being financially responsible for, saying, no, no, you're not adopting him. I'm the one that told him you just fucking adopted a teenager, when she won't even let you make room for your own fucking teenager to be in that house. And I told him, I said, you should have stood up for your friend's kid. And he goes, well, it's not about me. And I said, exactly. It's not about you. It's about that fucking child. It's about when you were a child and you were innocent, you needed somebody to speak up for you, and nobody did. That's what it's about. It's not about me. Like, I could get in some serious fucking trouble for all of this shit. I'm willing to take that risk because it's not about me. Even though it is about me also, because both can be true. It's about me in the sense of, like, you know what? I have wanted to stand up for myself and these bullies for a long fucking time. And I have wanted to stand up against these abusers who have been fucked up to my own fucking kids and to my fucking person for a long fucking time. But I'm really, really happy that it also combines with the fact that it's more than me. Like, last month, October, was End the Violence Month. Can we really fucking do that? Can we really get together and become the kinds of people that actually speak up, whether it's our business or not? Because the innocence of children matters. And when we don't do it, guess what? We get creepy touchers like Tina. And I decided, you know what? I mean, I'm not going to take the whole going, like, I'm really not offended by the unstable thing. I'm really, really stable. And what's funny is, what makes me laugh is I've noticed this thing about people. If you accuse them of something that's not true, they typically go, meh, right? But when you call them in about something that is true, that they're not ready to own, that they know is really fucked up, they freak the fuck out. Pretty much everybody. Doesn't matter if it's viewers, people that I'm coaching, clients, my family, Rudy's family, him. When you actually talk about something that actually is going on and is wrong, they freak out. And so I realized the whole reason that they're lying to my 10-year-old and trying to tell him that I'm unstable to keep him from me is so that Tina doesn't have to face that she needs actual help and that she's being a creepy toucher, not just with her son, but with him. Because several times over 2020 and 2021, when I allowed a restart, a do-over, and she needed to be involved, she would not stop touching Rudy in a sexual way and not stop whispering in his ear and being constantly in his face trying to make out with him and do other shit while our kids were fucking sitting there after having their dad basically to themselves for 15 years, which is really fucked up, really unhealthy, really inappropriate. And then she started emasculating him in front of the kids. Now, I don't intrinsically mind having conversations with my sons about emasculation. It's a thing that exists in the world. It's unfortunate that it does, but it's a definite good time to have learning lessons. So I'm grateful for that. But I did not enjoy having that conversation about their own father, especially with questions like, he so clearly hated the touching and the inappropriate behavior, and I like, why would dad let her do that? Why is he being kind of a coward about it? Like, why is he letting her do that when he clearly does not like it? And I don't like to have to answer those questions. Yeah, you know what? I have my own fucking feelings. Jealousy's not one of them. Why would I be jealous of a creepy toucher like Tina? But I do have my own shadows of possessiveness and things like that, and I don't like the idea that he's with somebody else in general, just a human thing, a lover thing. But what has always pissed me off is, like, look, I practice compersion. If you want to be with this person, you want to be with this person. But where I draw the line is when they're basically molesting you as an adult, and you're allowing it in front of our children, to where I have to talk about that. And not only is it wrong that that's happening in the first place and making me feel like I should do more about it, because I know you clinically have problems saying no, especially when it comes to real abuse, but I also just don't think it's appropriate or respectful to put me in the position to where I have to talk about that stuff, or put our boys in the fucking position where they have to witness that stuff. You know what I mean? 44, 44 on the clock. But that tells me, though, I've got her. It's the creepy touching thing. She's most offended by that. In fact, when I called Rudy 2 days ago to ask if he was withholding our 10-year-old from me, he said yes. And I said, well, usually you have to have an actual legal basis for doing that because I have parental rights. We are both full custodial parents of our youngest son. And he said very carefully, because I'm unstable. And I said, okay, do you got like a psychologist to back that up or somebody from a court? And he said yes in his I'm lying through my teeth voice. And I said, well, okay, what's your basis that I'm being unstable? And he said, well, some of your accusations on Facebook were unfair. And I know because of the way that our youngest, because they told our youngest, our 10-year-old, when I put that stuff up, that I'm his problem, our 10-year-old. That because I'm telling the truth about her creepy touching, that they're not going to talk to me like adults. Nobody is going to. Instead, it's going to be our 10-year-old's problem. Which, for one, no, it's not his problem. It's y'all's problem. You're adults, right? 43. Both of you are 43. I am 35. He is 10. And his sisters encouraged that sort of thing. That's what gets me. While they sit there acting holier than thou and shit, encouraged that shit. Because there's nothing wrong with making a 10-year-old responsible for an adult creepy touching and being called in about it. Of course not. No. So, when I realized that's the key, and that she's got Rudy so regressed back into his reactive attachment disorder that he's not able to hold his space at all in terms of his own boundaries, his own emotions. I mean, he's better than they are because he went through therapy and DBT. It makes me proud of him for that. But I knew that since he's not called me back in a few days, because I told him to hurry up. I was like, if y'all are going to try to take me to court and prove to me to be unstable, hurry up because I'd like to overcome the additional obstacles you've been putting in my way so I can see our son and so he can know the truth. And he said he'd hurry up. But just as he has done over the past 22 months. Not, but I actually give him credit. He tried. He wanted to have a peaceful relationship with me. We were building it. Tina got insecure. He told me the reason he couldn't was because she got insecure. And even though I've not been doing anything, like, honey, you're the karmic that got called in to help him learn some valuable life lessons. Why the fuck would I get in the way of that? I have better things to do anyways, and I want to set things up. So, love him or not, and whether that freaks you out or not, like, you had carte blanche to do whatever the fuck you want, and you made the choices that you made. I didn't make you make the choices you made. Nobody else made you make the choices that you made. You made the choices that you made. Now we're sitting here talking about it because you made the choices that you made, and I made the good choices that I made, including working on my mental health, so I can sit here and be bratty and also completely stable. Anyways, the thing that came into my mind though was I think I need to push that button. Like, there's a meme that I saw not long ago that had this baby, and like, it says, everyone else saying, please don't make this awkward, and then the baby turns around with this funny grin and is like me making it awkward, right? Because why not? Like, you're already making it incredibly awkward in the fact that I could not, from the beginning, just say, here, honey, by all means, have the kids. And then, of course, instead of it being put where the credit is deserved, and the fact that Tina has no fucking boundaries and is a creepy toucher of adults and children, instead, everybody decided to go for this thing of saying that I was just trying to get him back, or that I was trying to trick him into something else. And what it really was is that while I was working on myself and not playing jealousy games and not being a creepy toucher, he found that very fucking attractive. And he kept wanting to work with me, and I didn't do anything wrong on that. But of course, his family, and Tina, and Sheila, I guess they felt inferior to that. I'm not really sure because I even like made up people to be with just so that they would be like, I'm thinking, okay, if I think like they think, they're probably thinking that because I'm not with somebody that I'm like sitting here making some weird plan for Rudy. But the truth is, just like they thought that he had some incredible plan to be able to get away from her and get back to me when he didn't, like, Neither did I. Neither did I. The plan was there was no plan. And if nothing else, here's a telling sign about me, okay? When he left, I did look up some how to get your X back videos. And you know what the most consistent and the healthiest thing is that most of those good coaches talk about is that not only are you not going to get your ex back when you have an agenda, even if your agenda is just simply to be in relationship with them, but on top of that, it's not healthy because if y'all separated or broke up, there's a reason for it. And what you really should do is work on your own shit. Because if you want, it shouldn't just be about will they take you back. It's where are you in terms of your ability to resolve the conflicts that you had before that led to that moment, which you should worry about for yourself as well as being with them, which is a good idea to work on because if you don't get back with them, then you are still healthier when you go into your next relationship. I really liked that advice. I took that advice to heart. It took me a little while to be able to work out the kinks in my head of like the anxious attachment and the codependent stuff of like, there's a difference between I love you and I really would like you close to me in my life and I need to have you. I'm going to melt if I don't, that kind of shit. And I'm still really fucking grateful that I listened to that advice over pirate advice of going and creating drama and stalking and doing all that shit. Especially because over 20 years, like, I've listened to these people talk about how they enjoy stalking, torturing guys, torturing their girls. Especially, my favorite is they'll have been with the guy and then they'll break up and then the guy will get with a new gal and they just love torturing the new gals and his family, especially if it's their brother's new gals. And that also includes if it's their guy's new gals. And they've talked about all sorts of shit hiding in bushes, leaving weird shit on doors. I think the most appalling to me was both when Sheila and Ivy liked to get Rudy set up because Sheila would be cheating on him. So she'd say something along the lines of, I'm going out with my new boyfriend or girlfriend. Because her other favorite thing to do when she got bored of saying, I'm out having sex with another guy, yes, I'm your wife, but it doesn't fucking matter, was to, when that got boring and Rudy stopped responding, she'd say, by the way, you're so awful, I became gay, and I'm, with my friend Yana now, and I'm with these other people now, abusing homophobically LGBTQ identities. Another fucked up thing. But on top of that, they all love to talk about how domestically violent and abusive they get with each other, how they got away with various different things. And one of the most appalling to me was it's funny. Here's a funny dynamic, right? So at one point when I was 16 and I was still desperately wanting to be out of my house, Rudy had asked me to come and meet up with him. It was at a guy who's now my ex, probably one of the only genuinely like scary abusive kind of people that I've been with. I'm not saying that he's all bad. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have stuck it out for a long time if he was all bad, but it was fucking, I mean, this is like regular conversations about how he felt that I was not virginal enough for him and that that was a problem for his family because, I like to talk about my adventures and stuff. Not TMI wise, like not getting into the dirty details, but I liked that I was kind of a seductive huntress. I enjoyed it. And so there was all sorts of stuff in there. But what I didn't know, so Rudy had decided to move into the guy's loft there because his wife had kicked him out again and was cheating on him again. And he invited me and a friend to come and hang out with him in Everett. And then, of course, without fail, Sheila decided, no, I'm not done with you yet. And Rudy is definitely one of those. Here's the sucky part and the good part. When he marries somebody, he really takes those vows seriously, even if they abuse the fuck out of him. Part of it is a maladaptive coping mechanism, and part of it is that that's one of his better qualities. When he does make a full higher commitment, he takes it seriously, even if it's really fucked up for him. A lot of people do that. My own parents fucking do that. In any case, he decided he was going to go and try to work things out with her again. We talked about it before he went, like, and his friend, like, this isn't a good idea for you. Like, nobody's saying you shouldn't work on a relationship that you care about, but she's clearly fucking with you. And he said that he knew, but he didn't, if he could have any chance to salvage things, especially with their young daughter, that he would rather try. And that despite her abuse, he felt like he loved her. That's one of the things that I loved about him. Like, yeah, okay, you're getting into codependence, you're getting hurt, but I love that fucking heart. You know what I mean? Like, it was hard for me to even hear that because I knew that I fucking loved him and that I could certainly do damn far better than that. And I did. This is the great thing. I love that they have been stalking me the whole fucking time because clearly I did a beautiful fucking job with him. Like, the whole reason he's in the position he's in right now is because he put a proposal out to me on Facebook, and then the Jumanji stampede, led by his first wife, Sheila, came out of the fucking woodworks. So I know that clearly I am a motherfucking woman who stays in my own fucking lane and did a beautiful fucking job with him, and it made them feel incredibly insecure. In fact, there was no way, like, they were able to fuck with him, but until I told him to go and go grow up, they never really had more than just creating immature pirate drama. And in any case, getting back to the creepy touching thing, I knew that since I had not gotten a call in 2 days saying, we filed the paperwork, we're going to go to court, we're going to talk about instability and stuff like that, that Tina is again playing this game of like, I'm going to talk a bunch of shit that I'm too cowardly to actually back up because I don't even have the breasts or the balls to talk to you myself on the phone or in person. I only do it through using Rudy's phone to pretend to be him to try to incriminate him later when I'm done with him, because that's a pattern that abusive women often use, and 55 on the clock. And I thought, you know what? I have been taking the mature route all 22 months. I've not called any names. I've been kind, even though I was definitely righteous and being more forward about things the whole time. And I knew I wasn't going to get, like, yes, we have this court date thing. And also, you know what? My Rudy Bug has been a bit of a jerk to me. So I thought, you know what, I can give myself one chance, and I called him at his work because Tina has blocked his phone because she's incredibly insecure about me right now, and she's feeling a little bit butthurt about the fact that she got caught creepy touching my son in a public fucking place. And also called out for love bombing and other inappropriate things to be doing, especially with someone else's child that you barely have relationship with because you chose not to. I remember talking with Rudy and our boys, so there's witnesses to it, at a different time, at a different buzz-in, about how she needed to be more pleasant and to have just basic fucking boundaries. And you know what he told me? I'm not marrying her to replace you. She's separate. She's just for me, and she doesn't want to be a mother to our children. So there is no relationship that's been built there between her and our kids because she didn't fucking want one. She had no intention. She never expected me to actually be different than her and the other pirates and never want to take the relationship between Rudy and our boys away. I never did. She put a ton of fucking obstacles in the way, as did his family, as did Sheila and everybody else, and I still never did it. Because despite knowing that they regressed him and that this does happen, one, there's a lot of higher spiritual shit that none of them are even intelligent enough to be able to consider because they're so worried about money, money, money. 3D, 3D, 3D. When am I getting enough sex? When am I getting enough doing it? Is everybody giving me enough tension? Oh, wait, the loving family is actually giving someone else's 10-year-old some positive attention. What about me? Me. I gotta be in there too. And so I decided to call him, knowing that it was probably not going to go anywhere if I was nice, anyways. And I just simply said, hey there, you and Creepy Toucher got a court date for me yet? And he just hung up. Which to me is like, guilty conscience? Because it can't be self righteous indignation at this point. Obviously, she's going nuts over the whole idea that she got called in, that she was inappropriately touching. And I bet you that if they actually had the courage to take this to court, where we could all get checked for our mental health, including her kids and my kids, that it would probably be revealed that she's been creepy touching a lot more than that one moment in the restaurant. But you know what? This is where I'm grateful because as much as I don't like that my 10-year-old is being put in a really fucking confusing situation over her pride and Rudy's pride and my pride, I'm happy that she keeps doing things that reveal the true content and character of her heart because Spirit tells me that where this is going is that she's going to reveal herself. And it's going to at least have one person who is being a creepy toucher and an abuser get some real fucking help. And that's going to help the collective. That's where it becomes bigger than me. That's where it becomes bigger than just a few kids. And I'm just so fucking tired and full up with everybody being abusive to kids. Whether it's actual literal abuse, like when his daughter had bruises on her arms from his first wife, that nobody thought to actually go and say, hey, it's not appropriate for you to treat your child that way. I remember him telling me about he didn't know what to do. He tried to talk to his sisters. He tried to talk to other people to get help, and all of them said, no, 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 let me do my spying and Benedict Arnold and backbiting and shit. We'll help you. And instead, they sat there saying, oh, Rudy's just dramatic. Oh, he's just bipolar. When he's never been diagnosed bipolar, and we had him checked for it. No bipolar, no borderline, not in there. And so they let that shit happen. And that was before he and I were in official relationship. Before I saw bruises on her arms, but at that time I was just a friends with benefits, and I was 15 and 16. So I was more in a space of thinking about not having her to get in more fucking trouble, and also I was enjoying the time that I got to spend with him. And at that age, I mean, I did think about other people, but I was not as moral about it. And then later, like watching the body shaming, watching like his own fucking family tell him all his life that he's always fucking things up and always got two screws loose. I mean, even when talking with his sister about the depression and the stuff that went on, like he tried to talk to her about it. And I know Rudy. I know that he tried to talk about it in the sense of like she's really depressed, and I'm really not sure what to do about it. Hello, Hannah. Yeah, I'm glad you're starting over from the beginning. I don't know if this is going to be useful to anybody else or not. I'm hoping it is. Usually, when I do these videos, even though they're not about very pretty subjects, they tend to help other people. That's another reason that I do it. Um, in any case, when I was talking to his sister about like the depression and things like that, and all the stuff going on, all the things that Sheila was doing to bully, all the other stuff, and then his younger sister getting him in, and his friends and stuff like that, instead of saying something and anything ever during the whole times that we've talked about this and saying like, hey, I understand that he went through a lot of stuff. Maybe we should help him, or maybe there's another route. No, her first place to go was, I knew he was fucking it up again. Which, first of all, gets me because it's like, one, you're saying it and you're lying through your teeth voice. You're saying it to try to placate me. You're saying it to try to make me think that you're my buddy. And while I'm not going to call you in about that, I am going to make note of that because that shows the content of your heart. And then of course, like I even talked about, I was like, it's not all on him. Like I had my own shows dealing with too. I had my own family, I had things like that. There was stuff going on. It's not all on him. I've never done that. And you know what made me kind of laugh and also feel good is that when we first started talking, she was nowhere in that realm of consciousness about anything that, gee, you could own your own parts of things. And then it was later, like months later, after she had been copying me with astrology and other things, that she finally realized that in her last marriage, that really ended up emotionally hurting both of her own kids, that she still doesn't take full accountability for. She acknowledged that she had some things that she could have done better as a wife to her ex-husband that she was with when I met her. I was proud of her for that. I was. Like, look at that. There's some growth. There it is. That's fucking beautiful. But what really, really makes me sad is that the more we talked, especially about Rudy's stuff, and I would be speaking both goodness and shadow, because we're all good and shadow. She would only focus on the shadow sides. Only focus on the shadow sides. Well, he's always done this, and he's fucked up and done this and that. Until I brought up to her that he told me about the ways that she abused him, like when he had his teddy bear when he was younger, and she used to like to tease him about doing sexual things with him, and how his brother used to like to put his foot into Rudy's balls and push it into there when Rudy was a little fucking kid. Did she protect him from that? No. But then she likes to talk about how she's protected everybody and told me this whole time that she did not want to go over and see Tina in the first place, but she went over because she'd rather have a connection with her brother, who she loves, but that she didn't because Tina started bullying her and talking shit about people who have GEDs, whom Rudy and his sister, well, I don't think Rudy got his GED, but his sister, everybody have GEDs. And, yeah, there's financial problems, but we do pretty fucking well. And she didn't like that. She said Tina was bullying her, like trying, like acting like because she's nice that she's weak, and she hates that. She hates people thinking that she's a coward. But then in these moments, when her brother's actually being hurt, when according to her, Tina is just an awful broken person who can't get fixed and was fucked up by her parents and is probably just trying to help with their mom to get the money and just wants to steal my children and all this stuff. But when my son wants to go over there because he misses the connection with his dad that he's been robbed of for 2 years, not just because of creepy toucher Tina, but because of his sister, who openly admitted to me that she encouraged Rudy to be more of a dick to our oldest son and to just take me to court instead of, I don't know, being an adult, being rational, being mature, probably because she was letting creepy toucher Tina and other people get into her head. And she took personal offense to me years and years ago when her oldest son got into drugs. And she was enabling. She was enabling really badly and making him feel like shit. Constantly saying stuff like, you're just like your father, which, by the way, both parents are a part of our identity. She and Rudy and the others grew up with a mother and father who did that shit to them. And gee, wonder why they have some problems right now. In any case, she was doing that shit to her fucking kids. And so, of course, her oldest son, who I love, I have great fucking space in my heart for him. He used to do so many, he'd come over and do chores, and Rudy would always overpay him, but I loved it because he was doing something for himself. And when it turned downhill, I was looking at all of the stuff going on and going, at this point, for his sister, she's really going to have to let him go and hit rock bottom. Not because that's the only way to go about it, but because she cannot get herself into a healed headspace enough to own her own contributions to why her son is like that. And at that point, she's not helping him. And I had said that to Rudy, and I know that he had mentioned that to her, but she is typically the type of person, because I've seen his text messages, and I've had firsthand experience over this last year. She'll talk to you like she's the nicest person in the world and the most benevolent person you've met, and she does do a fair amount of good things, but then where it counts, it's not there. So when he told her this, she took personal offense to it and just stopped talking to me for the most part for years, years and years and years. No courage to be able to even say, hey, I'm offended by that. Nothing. And then when it came down to a few weeks ago, I mean, I felt bad about it. I felt bad about it because I've watched her at least try to help her son in ways. It's enabling, it's fucking him up more. But I feel for it because I know how the experience is with Rudy. And I told her that I was sorry for that I know that that's why she did not talk to me. But in this moment, I believe that actually she's correct in the sense that there are times when, despite common advice, that you just ice people out. And as she said, that her and the youngest sister were doing to Rudy, nailing his balls to the wall because they don't like Tina and they think that he got more love than they got, and that's offensive to them. That I actually agreed that it was better to have a heart and that I was sorry that I said that and that pushed her away. But what really sucks is, like, I feel genuinely about that. That was not a fake thing. And what really, really got to me was after all the stuff that she confessed that she did that was inappropriate while lying to me and saying, well, if I really would have known you. No, the truth is, if you were a good person, you never would have fucking said that shit. You never would have believed people that you say are unreliable. Never. Anyways, what gets me is that in moments like this, too, her first response is just like all the rest of the pirates: protect yourself. Don't put the kids first. Don't claim accountability. Don't actually do something that helps. No. Encourage people who are already messed up to be more messed up, especially the children, because I mean, apparently in that world, children's hearts and minds and actually getting along peacefully with other adults is not a thing that you actually do genuinely. And I know this because she's one of the first people to have gone to Rudy and told that me being good was actually just a trick. And if it really was love, that it was much more likely that I was too good for him and that he would fuck it up and we would get hurt. All while sitting there watching me, stalking me, watching my videos, telling me how accurate that I actually am, even with their own fucking lives, while she sits there and shit talks her friend who has bad anxiety and got wrapped up codependently with me, trying to get me to read her astrology chart like every fucking hour because she was insecure about her relationship. And I actually held space for that. I was like, look, I can't do that for her, but I get why she's in that space. While his sister sat there talking about her own best friend, about how she many times she's injured her by asking her to help with her projects, and how she's never actually had a successful business. She just mooches off her parents and everybody else. Like, this is the person she says to everybody else is her best fucking friend, and saying how crazy that was. And then she started checking out astrology or astro.com every day, because then she too felt like there was something more there, because I was very accurate. I am very accurate. I'm very good at what I do because I like it. Like, there's a difference. Like, when you're good at something because you like doing it, there's a difference between that and being good at something because you think you have to, including being in survival mode, right? In any case, I'm really amused because as much as this situation fucking sucks, like, to have called and done like and said that to Rudy, it shows me I'm right. Tina's creepy touching him, creepy touching others. She's likely not touching my son anymore, though, because with borderline and stuff like that, and the fact that she pretty much always, like, she'll do transportation for Joey to school, but then he goes to Rudy's work, which I'd imagine it doesn't make his bosses too happy because they have to have OSHA insurance and shit like that at work, and it does not cover children. But, or rather, at least because he's commissioned, he should have that insurance there, especially considering how violent a lot of these pirates like to boast about how they feel like they are. I know, because I've got a whole fucking stream of threats from them, including death threats, over the years of 20 years. So it's not a safe place for him to be there either. But Tina cannot control herself. And I know because she's so offended at the fact that I said, hey, that was an inappropriate way and time to be touching my son. Which, really, if you're a stable adult, that shouldn't be too offensive. If it was a genuine mistake or you really just had a moment of nerves, usually you go, okay, all right, I hear you. It's not my kid. I get it. This is different. And also, she doesn't know the history of the bullshit that Sheila put Rainey through. That also had to do with creepy touching. That Rainey never fucking did. That adults did. That Sheila and the other fucking adults did. But fucking Sheila made sure that Rainey paid the ultimate fucking price for that. Beautiful fucking mom, right? In any case, the thing is, as much as I don't like being mean to anybody, I know that that is the way to make sure that it is known, that I know, and that I am not afraid to call her what she clearly fucking is, a creepy toucher. And while my plan is still that there is no plan, I see no reason not to talk about it, because it's abusive. It's messed up. And really, if you're a person listening to this and you've had somebody do that to you, I want you to know that I apologize for them. Because clearly, between how they probably got messed up as kids themselves and that they justify as adults not ever saying to you, I did that and I'm sorry, you don't deserve that. And especially as kids. I know a lot of people, myself included, who ended up being abused by adults being pirates or potatoes. Pirates is somebody that they know that it's wrong, they know that it's abusive, and they fucking do it anyways. Potatoes are generally followers. They usually follow pirates because instead of thinking I should be around the person who does the most good because that actually makes me the most safe and the most secure, they go, I should be around the person who is the craziest because if the world falls apart, then the crazy people will protect me, even while those potatoes are being thrown under the bus by everybody. Because pirates, until they decide to face themselves and heal, they don't give a fuck. They love people that are like, please, please, please let me be your friend. Please, 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 won't you let me help you? I'll be good to you. Look at this thing that I did to please you. They love people like that. They fucking love it. They're the first ones to throw under the bus. That's the thing that gets me about Rudy is like, he's actually what I refer to normal, healthy people as pickles. And that's more of what he is. But he's being a potato right now. And what behooves me is that almost everybody, including his own family and friends, who know the situation exactly as it is, who do a lot of the same shit themselves, are the first ones to go, well, he needs to put his balls back on. He needs to stop being a coward. But they're also the first ones to talk about, well, when I was in an abusive relationship, it was really hard for me to get out. It's like, you know what? Why don't y'all fucking take a spoonful of your own fucking medicine and consider that? Whether it, like, abuse is not assigned to gender, and being able to get out of abuse is not assigned to gender. Everybody has fucking challenges with it. And if you've actually had an abusive fucking relationship that you stayed in, which I know most of these people have, for years, while contributing to the domestic violence, if you know how fucking hard that is, then why the fuck are you being fucked up to another human being that you know is in one and needs help just because he's a man? Or just because he's your brother and you feel like that because he got piano lessons and some more love from your all's parents that you did, that it's his fault? Because it's not his fault. That's a direct product of your parents abusing y'all and making you feel like as children you were responsible for your own pain, which you were not. Anyways, I'm not fond of this situation at all. If it didn't have many higher purposes in helping the collective, I probably would have listened to the pirates and taken the kids and gone. But I know better. And I also know that Rudy does not fucking deserve being put in this position. I know him. After 20 fucking years, I know the only reason that he is acting the way that he is because they are fucking abusing him. And he's not, like, 43 years old, yes, in 3D time, he's not there in his mind, especially with the kind of abuse that they put him through and encouraging his addictive behaviors and other bullshit like that. He's not as mature as his age. And I remember when his sister was over here, even, and I told her that I knew about the ways that she and his brother and others abused him also. She suddenly stopped coming over. She admitted that it was true. Oh, well, we were fucked up too, which I could hold space for if in this moment she was actually choosing to do the right thing, benevolent things, if she had not confessed on Facebook that she was the one that encouraged Rudy to be an additional jerk, to break our oldest son's heart again, after she was the one who, I remember, so when I was first pregnant with our oldest son, Eamon, and Rudy was considering the decision of whether or not to be involved or not, because I never tried to trap him. I said, look, I am pregnant. It is your son. I'm over 3 months already, but I'm aware you're married, you're entangled in shit. I don't expect you to do anything, but I want you to know I and our child would love for you to be there if you want to be there. But I can figure it out. I don't need you if you're not able to be there. And this freaked him out for one thing, because in the pirates world, if you don't desperately need somebody, you complete me, then it means that they don't love you, which is not fucking true. And I'm glad actually, because in being with Creepy Toucher Tina, guess what lesson he's learned? That there's a difference between want and need. And people that say that they need you or convince you that you would be shit without them are not good for you. And even if you do love them, they're not going to treat you well. I'm really proud of him for learning that lesson amongst all this shit. But either way, it was his sisters who, in the beginning, when he was trying to process things, said, look, I do love my wife, but, and here's the thing, he was going to say, I do love my wife, but she is really abusive. And I don't want to abandon Amanda with this child. But he didn't even get past, I love my wife, but before his sister said, well, if you love your wife, then what the fuck are you doing fucking around with some little girl? She confessed this to me on this porch. You see the one behind me? She confessed this to me while she was over at my house spying on me and my family, trying to decide whether her judgment of all things meant that we were pirates too or not. And so from the beginning, she was the one telling Rudy to sabotage and be a dick to his oldest son. Why? I don't know. Probably because it made her feel somewhat superior, as if she's never cheated on anybody, as if she's never done a shitty thing. Of course, just fucking encourage your brother to be just as shitty to his kids as y'all's dad was to you, while self-righteously sitting there and whining because she was really hoping that when her relationships did not work out with her kids' dads, that Rudy and their brother would have been the good examples for her sons, while not acknowledging that she's the one who encouraged and instigated and quite frankly abused her authority as the older sister who likes to say that she's the one who makes all the right decisions and she's the one who has it, to basically abandon and reject his own fucking children, and then did it again. When I went on my vacation, Our oldest son needed some help with the car, and he couldn't get it because his dad sent him a message, which our oldest son put on Facebook, saying that he was no longer his responsibility. And of course, Rudy, being the guy he is, he owned it as if it was his own fucking words. But I knew better than that. And part of putting all of my emotions and my story on Facebook is I knew that none of the pirates, including his sister, had enough self control not to get involved in that once Creepy Toucher Tina told everybody that I was telling the truth. So, and it's not that his sister wasn't on my page and couldn't see it, but of course, because I was also talking about her too, which nobody does. Nobody talks about the benevolent sister because she helped you one time. Not really, but that's what they say. And because here's the thing, it's not really help. If in the background, you're trying to encourage people to be shitty to their children to make yourself feel better, or because you're scared of something. That's not really help. It's not really help when you go into somebody else's house to decide to make a judgment over whether or not you're going to be on their side or someone else's side. It's also not help when you come over to my house, not because you really want to fucking be here, but for one, you want to make your judgments, and then two, you want to be able to piss off and try to sabotage your brother's fucking relationship with somebody you don't like because you feel like he got more love than you growing up. That's not really help. It's also not really help when, that same sister's best friend fucking got upset at me and let herself go and said a whole lot of shitty things that really could be taken as threats on its own. Um, that his sister sent me a message saying that was so awful that I had not been there for her best friend because she has anxiety and she helped me once. Do you know how she helped me? She was there to listen to me process and talk about my feelings. I was very appreciative of it, so much so that I did offer. I said, I'm happy to help you anytime. You want someone to talk to you about relationship stuff, you want astrology, do it. Because I didn't realize I was signing up for somebody that was worse than Rudy. And I held space for it because I've known a lot of people that have anxiety. I've helped people get jobs that had such high anxiety, but they felt safe getting jobs with me because they knew that I got it. And now they're pretty fucking amazing people, chefs, cooks, managers, because I was that one person that would really did hold space for that anxiety. And I did get that with Rudy's sister's friend. But what gets me is that his sister sends me that message saying that I've been so horrible and mean when I know that she has not actually seen the messages that occurred between me and her friend. And I didn't know to what level her loyalty was there with her friend. I assumed because they talked about being best friends and because her friend did not talk too much shit about his sister, that they probably had a distant relationship. Little did I know that his sister's been harboring all sorts of bitterness and resentment towards her own best friend. And so when she sent me that message, codependently saying that I was somehow injuring her friend by actually respecting myself and not overdoing it, and I didn't even tell her no. I said I just needed some space after explaining to her that I'd already had a rough time in talking about stuff with Rudy, and that I didn't even know that his sister was actually encouraging him to do all this fucking shit at the time, so I didn't even know that I was being intentionally self sabotaged by his own family while they were pretending to help me. Um, that my response to her message about me not helping is it's unfortunate when telling the truth would make someone we both care about look really bad. And that's where I left it because I'm a grown ass fucking woman. I don't typically need to go and talk about this shit. I don't need to make these judgments. The whole time I was sitting there thinking, I know how abusive his sister was too. I'm sure that she probably attracted towards her friends that were also abused, and they're from the land of the broken. They could never possibly change because they were broken, and nobody else can change because they were broken. So of course they put me in that fucking category too, while copying me, and then coming to me and saying, "Gee, I feel better when I actually don't focus on the fucking brokenness, and when I'm accountable for my own fucking bullshit." Gee, I wonder why. Anyways, then later, his sister calls me and tells me she only said that to me, that I'd hurt her friend, because her friend was over there talking shit about me, saying that I hurt her. when I didn't. And really, what she's really been worried about is that I might go around talking about how insecure she's been. And I guess with kink with her guy, I don't know. I don't know why I would go around talking about any of this unless it got to a situation like we're in right now. That's the only point in time when a stable, healthy person like myself would actually consider doing that. In any case, what really got me, though, is his sister sitting there telling me on the phone about how she just tried to bullshit me to avoid conflict codependently in a way that's not okay. That she even knew it. She even felt guilty about it. So she called me to tell me about it. That she knew that I wasn't likely to be really dramatic. I probably wasn't going to say anything, and that she knows how her friend is, and that she has done all sorts of crazy dramatic stuff like that all the time, and that she felt bad that she had said that to me when I certainly didn't deserve it. Which, I mean, I could have believed that if she actually would have grown a pair and talk to her friend about the shit that she was telling me about instead of being like my mom and other people and telling me about her grievances. Because what fucking good does it do to gossip and tell everyone else about your problems and not the actual person that you have a fucking problem with? My mind is not very logical or stable. In any case, the other thing is like, really, why is it that you think that I would be won over by that? Like, yeah, you're coming to me and you're being honest with me, but weren't you the one that told me that it was silly of Rudy to have trusted creepy toucher Tina in saying, oh, yes, I use and abuse men, but I promise I want to get better. I just need somebody to be there for me to pay for all my bills, to clean up all my messes without asking for sex or anything realistic that should exist in a healthy adult relationship. Is like believing the lap dancer really loves you. So, why, if you believe that way, and you've given me that advice, wouldn't you understand that when you come to me after multiple times betraying me that you didn't think I knew about, but I did, just so that you didn't have to tell your friend that you felt like she was crazy, as you told me? Your own best friend. This is his sister. Crazy is what she said about her own best friend. And so then, as she's sitting there telling me that she codependently betrayed me, and even if there wasn't loyalty in there, she admitted I didn't deserve that, and that she knows that I'm not like that. But then she's doing that, and then trying to tell me that, oh, I know that you're not like that, and my friend has just always been like that. Let me tell you about all the ways she's betrayed me over the years. And I'm sitting there going, this seems an awful lot like the lap dancer telling me that they love me. And wouldn't it be stupid of me to believe that? But of course, I mean, I didn't tell her that because it seemed impolite to say something like that. But I was thinking it and going, whatever. I mean, Spirit keeps telling me that if I don't ask for any information about him and I just let people do whatever they're going to do naturally, that all the information will come to me. And it did, largely by way of his own sister, who was happy to let me be thrown under the bus, both with Rudy and Tina and others, when she was the one who ratted out his first wife, Sheila, for having an affair while she's married to her husband Tristan with her old fuck buddy, Phil, who is also married to another person, Brooke, and that they were using Rudy's house and emotional energy to have that fucking affair, which the really fucked up thing is Sheila cheated on Rudy with Phil right after her and Rudy got married. 20 years, over a little over 20 years. I think it would have been 23 years ago. Yeah. 3 days after the wedding. And Phil was their best man. And I talked to him about it. And he said he felt bad for Phil. Who his sister and everybody else said, no, he's been hell fucking abusive. Like, if you have a dictionary definition of a narcissist, they said it was Phil. And even I pointed that out to Rudy. Like, he is also a fucking adult and making this decision irregardless of your feelings or your daughter's feelings or anybody else's. But what really got me, I should have been the one to rat them out, considering how they have all intentionally been trying to sabotage Rudy for his whole fucking life. And when he met me and we were actually fucking happy, they couldn't stand that. I don't know why. Like, if you see somebody having a better time than you, why don't you try improving your own fucking life instead of trying to have a self-righteous fucking opinion to try to sabotage that shit? And if you are so fucking paranoid which is his sister's favorite thing to say of everybody else. That everybody's paranoid, while sitting there going, no, 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 don't ever let Rudy see his fucking kids because Tina's so fucking awful and she's such a weird, creepy toucher that she might try to take your children because you don't have a parenting plan, which she clearly intended to make sure that you never do, so that she can take your kids and she could probably try to adopt them so that she can screw Rudy over even fucking harder when they're done by either trying to take them or have that. And then on top of that, telling Rudy the same shit about me, which is why he's sitting there right now, which I'm grateful, protecting our son, including from me, because his sister and everybody else are unhappy that their skeletons are all over the fucking place. That a lot of good people are seeing the bad things that they've done. And so instead of letting Rudy, like, look at the information for himself or anything, they're all very paranoid that they're going to get in trouble. So they sit there and tell him, oh, no, no, if you let her have your son now without a parenting plan, like, don't do a parenting plan, of course not, but if you let her have him, she might take him. And I know how fucked up it is to have somebody sitting there that you know they're full of shit, but you feel like they're trying to help you. And you've got all this evidence that they provided to you to suggest that the person that you actually feel like you can trust isn't somebody you can trust. That's gaslighting. People do that intentionally and unintentionally to make you feel unstable. And of course, his sisters are the first ones to be paranoid as fuck. My favorite example is the way that they liked to bully me when I was younger, was when Rudy had an apartment across the way from his youngest sister. And there was a night he had called me, and he was drunk. He was really upset because his wife, Sheila, at the time, had yet again come over and fucked with him, with her new boyfriend, and all sorts of shit like that, telling him he couldn't see the kids. His sisters weren't fucking helping. They were encouraging it, saying it was his fault, and he fucked everything up. And he had called me, and he was drunk. He was so fucking drunk that when, like, he talked about he had already fallen earlier in the week and hit his head on the counter. And so when the phone got cut off, and I was super fucking worried. Now, I was out in Lake Stevens, living with my parents, sucking up my pride because I was, I had just had our son. And even though I didn't want to be here, I wanted to have him in the closest to a safe environment that I could have. So I drove from here to Seattle to go check on him because that's who I am. And of course, his youngest sister, who at least up until I want to say like 5 years ago, really enjoyed stalking him and being all involved in his sex life and everything else, same with his other sister. And so I went to his apartment that was across the way. I knew that she probably was going to make up some bullshit because I was aware that she was like that because all of his fucking family told me how messed up that they feel like she is. Which I get. She's the youngest fucking sibling with a bunch of people that don't allow anyone to have emotions because then you're unstable or you've got a mental health problem. And then when you're righteously upset about the way people are fucking treating you, they go, oh, they're just dramatic. So when they threaten you with bullying and death threats and shit like that, then it's like, oh no, don't listen to them. They're full of shit. And then, so his youngest sister comes out. I had just gone up, tried to knock on the door. I didn't get any response. I'm like, fuck, I'm worried, but what else can I do? Like, that's the best that I can do. I did the best I could do. And when I came out and pulled away, I saw his sister across the way. Apparently, she was pissed at me because I had had a friend who lived in apartments down beneath her, and I'd had a moment where I was frustrated because Rudy was trying to develop at least a reasonable co-parenting relationship with me, but he was afraid to because his family fucking bullies him. And he didn't want either himself to go through that, his daughter to go through that, or our new son to go through that. And I was frustrated, and I thought that my friend was actually my friend, but through a strange set of circumstances, she was a friend of me. And I had just made a comment out of frustration that it sucked trying to talk to him with the drunks upstairs. So she, of course, immediately went to his younger sister and told her that, with a whole bunch of context, that was bullshit. Like, not even taking in any of it. And so his younger sister, instead of, working on her own mental health and being more stable, decided to spread the rumor that I was stalking him. And of course, me being the person I was hurt by that for a long time. And I allowed them to use it to bully me. But I'm actually glad because I've never stalked anyone in my life, but because they accused me of that, I made sure that I've never stalked anybody in my life. And it makes me feel so fucking good in a weird, self righteous way that I never stalked anybody ever because they put that contrast there. So I was extra sure to make sure I never fucking did any of that stuff with anyone. In any case, of course, she does that, and then his other sister, the benevolent sister, decided to join in on that. Have fun with that. And then encourage it, even when she tells me that creepy toucher Tina is spreading those rumors too. And then sit there and go, well, Rudy wasn't saying it, but he wasn't telling her to stop. And it's like, you know what? If that's your criticism and your attempt to try to turn me against him, why the fuck didn't you say anything about it? If you're such a good fucking person, if you're so fucking courageous, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you correct that? Why didn't you go, you know what, Amanda's not like that and y'all are paranoid? You know why? Because you're paranoid. Because you're worried that if you actually said something, they might turn their focus on you. Because you acknowledge they're bullies. It's scary. In any case, the very interesting thing to me, though, is that most people will accuse you of things that they are doing. This is part of why I know that Rudy's actually good too, because he's not really accused me of much. In fact, up until Tina got freaked out by me saying simply that it was inappropriate touching in a restaurant is impolite, and for the length of time that she has with a relationship with our son by her own choice, that she felt like I was calling her a creepy toucher. She told my son that I said she was picking on him, and it's like, for one thing, if you consider tickling to be picking on someone, which Rudy does to certain degrees, because his siblings used to enjoy doing that to him until he peed his pants, and there was no stop, there was nothing. That's why we started getting into safe words and shit like that, so that when we played, he knew he could be safe. But does his family acknowledge any of that? No. Instead, they call him a pussy for being upset by that, for being violated by them. Now, here we sit. And I'm torn because typically I'm not the type of person who really just sits on my laurels and doesn't do anything in situations like this. I have owned to everybody that I was a coward, and I did not stand up to these people through all these years of bullying, partly because I was afraid, but mostly because Rudy asked me not to so he could try to find healthier ways to deal with it. And his daughter was under 18 at the time, too, and I knew that at least psychologically speaking, with how thorough and thick all of these people's abuses are, it was actually, unfortunately, probably safer just to be the target of their bullying instead of her. So, yeah, I can own that I've been a bit of a coward, but I'm also the bravest motherfucker out of all of them. I always have been. I know that's why it scares them, because I am the type of person who would say something. I haven't, because I fell under the codependent delusion that maybe if I kept their nasty secrets, that they would actually be the good people that they tell everybody that they are, and then their actions fail to prove that they have ever been. In any case, I don't know to what degree that this might help those of you watching it, other than my groupies, Tina, Sheila, Rudy's sisters, all of them, who just can't stop watching me. It's very interesting to me. It's like, y'all want to say that I'm unstable, but you can't put your own fucking time into your own mental health and your own bullshit. In fact, what really made me kind of giggle is that when I was sharing my experiences and my memories on my Facebook with my oldest son, whom they have bullied and tortured and encouraged their dad to do that to him, that they decided, in fact, I talked about this on Facebook because the benevolent sister, the one who never does anything wrong, and her judgment is just so amazing that everybody listens to it, that she decided for the first time ever. I was actually quite proud that I got her to do something for the first time ever, and I didn't even mean to. So you know the Facebook story feeds, the news things, where you can put a meme or something like that? Of course, this is a beautiful way for her to use that for the first time, right? So she puts up a meme that says, "Hi, stalker." And what's funny is I thought about it because I know that I actually did earn her trust by not being a shit talker, by not telling her that she was wrong about anything, and by gently encouraging her to be better with her children and to be kinder to her brother and to actually be the courageous I don't take nobody's bullying that she fucking told me that she was. She didn't though. But she realized that I was a trustworthy person and that my stuff with astrology is not just me like reading some article on astro.com. I have invested decades into astrology just because I love it, not because I gain anything about it. I do my readings by donation only because it's for me more about helping other people and enjoying my love for astrology and tarot than trying to greedily worry about what my financial situation is going to be about. Because guess what? Life is not all about what you get out of it. In any case, the high stalker thing was an interesting thing because for the first time in my life, I felt like, because of her other messages, that she was at least trying to pretend to be my ally. While also telling everybody else that either I was gaslighting them or had been gaslit by Rudy, which, no, I haven't. He's never tried to gaslight me. There's been a few times that I know that he was subconsciously doing it because he was afraid of creepy toucher Tina and abusive Sheila and the fact that he knew that his own sisters and stuff were betraying him. That, yeah, there was some times that he withheld information or even, let Tina, using his phone, suggest that I had issues, which I told her who wouldn't after dealing with you. In any case, so his sister decides to use the first time ever. This is beautiful to me. I love this. I might make a video of its own because this was beautiful. Because I remember going to the bar with a couple of my former friends. I don't really know that I really want to call them friends because they've been just as much pirates to their own kids and to my kids and me that it's sad. It breaks my heart. I never expected them to be those kind of people, but whatever. In any case, they were telling me at the bar that they had seen his sister's high stalker thing. And what made me laugh was like, because it was her first ever one, like Facebook, the way the algorithm works is it puts it first. If your friend has just barely used one for the first time, they put it first. So it was right there on my page when I looked up on it. And it reminded me of how they were stalking their brother and all up involved in his sex life, which is, you. And also, you don't have better things to do with your time than drink and ruin your fucking brother's life? Like, I don't know what it says about me that I would drive out there to check on him, but I have a feeling that creepy stalking your brother and creepy touching him as a kid and then trying to bully all of the fucking women that he's been with, that says a lot worse, I think, than me, fawning over him. In any case, when the high stalker thing went up there, I just took a screenshot of it because I'm like, man, y'all are too easy. Like, you really want to provide all the evidence to back up all the bullshit and bullying that you put me through that I didn't have, like, literal evidence for yet? And then this is coming from the benevolent sister that really should have been a credible witness if anybody went to court, even though she lies through her teeth. But she didn't. Like, she put up the high stalker thing. And I thought about it. And I was like, I'm not going to look at it. Like, why would I justify my time with that? I'm amazed she's still on the fucking friends list after I called her out for the way that she treats her kids, the way that she's treated my kids, and the way she talks shit about her own best friend. And, but of course, somebody like that wouldn't possibly do a mature move like apologize and then unfriend and not be involved in the drama because she can't, right? She's a control freak like the rest of them. So, because of paranoia and the whole, a lap dance doesn't, or lap dance are really, like, I'm not saying they don't have love. Like, I have great room and space for sex workers, but it's their job to make you think that they love you so they can have your money. And so when she put up the high stalker thing, I was like, isn't this interesting? You sat there and told me all summer how you had healed in ways that nobody else had, but you don't have the self-discipline to not incriminate yourself right now because you're mad that you are no better. And then I decided I would put up a post about it. And I said, what's funny is for the first time ever, I'm thinking maybe they're doing this to the guy who basically confessed that they've been doing dark magic on me and everybody else. which was one of Tina's exes, and kind of a gullible potato in the rest. Like, he put up this post not long after and tagged everyone in it saying, "Are we still good friends?" And it's like, dude, these people, I told him, I tagged him in a post. I said, I don't know you that well, but when you called me to tell me that you felt like Tina was doing drugs again and that she abused you and gold dug you and fucked with your life and shit, I checked, I checked with a lot of people. I told them what you told me because I was concerned. Because on the other side, Tina was saying that she was worried that Chris was going to hurt her physically and abuse her. That's part of why she needed to be rescued by Rudy. And I was concerned about my children being around these people and also Rudy being around them. And you know what most of them said? They said, nah, it's much more likely that Tina is full of shit and doing that to get away with her creepy touching and gold digging because they felt that this guy was too stupid to be violent and that he was mostly just a gullible follower that had been around since middle school who they tolerated. So I told him, that's what they say about you. And you don't have to believe me. I have no ducks to give about it. But you might want to reconsider why you're trying to be good friends with these people. And so it could have been for him. Because, of course, after that, he was looking at every single thing that I had. And I know that he's been spying for Tina on me also. And because he really, really has a challenge with not being accepted by a group of people who have treated him like shit all his fucking life, I know that he was also doing that with the rest. And because he confessed to the dark magic thing, I thought maybe they're actually doing this with him. Because now, even though I'm actually being quite sane and having an appropriate trauma response to the abuses that they've done for me for 20 fucking years, that maybe they were doing it to him. But I still don't think that's okay. And so I waited and I thought about it, like what are my feelings and what do I want to process, and I did some journaling and some documenting of things, and then I put out a post with a screenshot that she had that on there right before I unfriended her, like a grown ass fucking woman does. And I said, the hard thing is that I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? It's kind of righteous in a way for somebody else to get the stalker label, but it's still not acceptable. For one thing, because they're the ones stalking people. Spying, backbiting, encouraging rivalries and people to be shitty to their fucking, to other people's kids, being shitty to their own fucking kids. Like, it's not okay. And even if it's righteous to suggest someone else is stalking, one, they don't really have a fucking place to talk from, and two, it's not okay. And so I told the story about how they'd bullied me for years with the suggesting that me trying to be there for their brother, as a good person actually fucking does, made me a stalker. Because of one comment that was very accurate. Because all his sister fucking did up in her fucking apartment was drink and have domestic violent fights with her fucking boyfriend and shit. I I mean, yeah, okay, I could have had better things to say, but what you're really upset about is that it was true. And of course, his other sister backed all that up. Oh yeah, when I get talking, she gets him riled up and they just get going, and she likes to encourage drama. She likes to start shit. And it's like, what gets me is like, just because you're not being aggressive doesn't mean you're not the same fucking way. And you come from the same fucking family. So 1 + 1 is 2, honey. Anyways, when she put that up, and I put up my post about how they bullied me with it, one of my former friends, who decided she wanted to commiserate and be involved in the knowing of the drama, as she usually does, that she had seen the Hi Stalker post. Because it was put up there first, because that's the way the Facebook algorithm works. And she went and laughed at it. And then she got unfriended by that sister, and she was more concerned. This is the thing that got me. I finally was like, I told her the truth about how I feel about stuff, and was like, not only have you betrayed me, but you've not been good to your children and other shit like that. But what gets me is when she's telling me about Rudy's sister putting that up, and that she laughed at it, thinking it was a joke, not being fully aware of the bullying, even though I told her about it, because we'd been friends since we were 14, and even after she betrayed me, I still tried to give her multiple chances. In any case, she was more concerned with why his sister had unfriended her, and that maybe it's because we had been friends, and she thought maybe that she had gone to laugh at her for me. And I laughed so fucking hard. because you can't make that shit up. And I never asked her to do anything, to be any part of it. Not till later. I did ask her later, while she's telling me in private that she knows what a good guy Rudy is, to say something publicly because it would make a big difference not only in what's going on, but to our oldest son, Eamon, who is only hearing bad shit about his dad from everyone except me. And so I'm laughing at that, going, that's pretty fucking awesome. I bet you there's a number of people that either decided to reach out to try to be friends with Rudy's sister for I don't know fucking why. It doesn't make sense from people from my end, but whatever. Um, that did laugh at that. And I bet you every person who is a stalker, because people become stalkers because they have no self discipline, which shows in putting up memes like that with the high stalker thing, that she probably had everybody and their motherfucking mother look at that because it was her very first use of the story feed thing, and it was put up there right up front. Everybody except guess who? Me, because I had better shit to be doing. In any case, I also love that I get that evidence now. It's like, thank you. Like, I think unless I had talked about all of the nasty pirate shit that you do, you never would have given me the evidence that you intentionally sabotaged Rudy's relationship with Eamon and with me, and that you were bullying me with the high stalker thing. And then on top of that, you got laughed at. I bet you every fucking person that saw that meme reacted with the laughing emoji, and most of them had no fucking idea what was going on. Even the people on my end that were more concerned about losing friendship with the benevolent sister, that they didn't even know there was anything going on. But that's what called their attention to it, which is one of my favorite parts because I'm not friends with most of these people on Facebook. And so it was her own act of using her story feed to try to bully me some more, to try to keep me quiet about their nasty pirate nonsense, that called everybody's attention to it. I'm sure that it even called in some people that she works with who were on my friends list because I'm human. I had moments of making friends too. I love to look at my Facebook friends list and see who we're connected to. Some of them are people that I haven't thought about in a long time and I connect with. Others are people that's like, oh, that's cool. Like, maybe we could have a connection because generally I try to assume the best about people and I assume that their connections are with good people. And I have a feeling that a lot of those people have been looking for reasons to be able to hello 69 babe, to be able to, well, let's just put it this way. I've heard a lot of stuff from his sister about how tumultuous her relationships are with the people that she works for in her side business and her job. And for a long time, I just gave her the benefit of the doubt that I thought that maybe she was trying to do the best of things and trying to keep things going, and that she was genuine when she whined and moaned and complained about how nobody ever treats her right. And I can imagine that those people, if they've had to have the experience of her and any of the rest of the family, probably we're just hoping for evidence, just hoping for an actual good person who's actually done good to say, you're not crazy. This person actually is betraying you. And I don't know the consequences of that, but the vision in my mind is that it probably had a real economic effect on her. And I would feel bad about that, except I remember why Rudy and I, were not able to keep our house. Because we were there for 11 years. And you know what one of our number one fights was? It was because his sisters kept putting themselves in shitty financial positions while they were trying to stalk and not really paying attention to their kids in appropriate, healthy ways because they're not humans, they're just tools, right? So while they were doing that, he was trying to constantly save them because he felt bad, because he has empathy. And even he said he knew that they were getting themselves into these positions, but they were his sisters. What was he supposed to do? So while we were drowning financially, while his first wife, Sheila, decided to say that he didn't pay 10 years of child support, that he did pay, but he didn't want, like, I mean, what do you do? Like, a guy that's been beat up by everybody, including his own family, doesn't have much fight left, so he just allowed it to happen. So half of his paycheck went to that child support that didn't even go to their daughter. It went into fancy entertainment systems and muscle cars and building a Halloween thing for the was a haunted house thing for the neighborhood and all of her pets. She's got like a shit ton of overwhelming fucking pets, lizards, cats, dogs, all this shit. Rudy talked about it for years. That she hoards pets and then leaves the other people mostly responsible for them. And guess what? That's where most of his fucking money went instead of into their daughter. Which then later they suggested that when I said, for one, honey, you know your money is not going to her. And two, you can't, it's not healthy to have a relationship where you are just spending money. You're buying love. And I know what that's like. My parents fucking do that to me. You need to have a better relationship. Though when he tried to have those boundaries and he tried to get his sister's assistance, do you know what they all said? And you know what they all told his daughter? That I just didn't want him to give her gas money. Yeah. After years of having his check being stolen like that, and him helping both of his sisters who were constantly robbing Paul to pay Peter, and then complaining that their men just weren't doing enough to take care of them and that the life just shits on them all the time. He didn't have any fucking money to put into our shit. So I worked multiple jobs, multiple times, until it physically hurt me to be able to take care of our house. I borrowed money and created a shittier failure image with my own fucking family to make sure we got to stay in that house for as long as fucking possible while Rudy was paying for his sister's shit. But of course, in these moments, when he finally, had some cojones and stopped helping them. Even though, yes, I agree, it's the shitty reason to stop helping them simply because creepy toucher Tina feels insecure about them and shit. And clearly there is a rivalry in there, but I'm proud of him because he did stop helping in that way because clearly they've been fucking betraying him. And what's unfortunate is when it came to their mom needing help, instead of his sister being like, you know what, let's work with this. Because she's the first person to complain that nobody helps her. And then when you offer help, which I have done multiple times, I have text messages to prove it. She says, no, no, I've got it. It's fine. And then later complains about how nobody helps her. And her favorite thing is to complain about how Rudy doesn't help her. She doesn't want help from anybody else. She wants Rudy to spend his money on her. So when she got herself into a bind because their mom got dementia and she was encouraging the drama, encouraging being incredibly controlling and shit. And it created a really bad fucking situation where their mom was acting out, understandably, for an older person with dementia, shitting on the couches and doing shit like that when she really needed help instead of actually getting real help or maybe even going to counseling or saying, you know what, I recognize I'm being codependent. I'm putting myself in this position. Instead, she sends their mom to a hospital and leaves her there. And I had great empathy to a degree for this, except for my problem is I witnessed how she was with their mother. And I'm well aware of their history, of how their mother put them in the position to be this screwed up. So I'm aware of both sides. But instead of working with Rudy, who I was there. I was talking to him. I was encouraging him to try to reach out, to be helpful with his mother. She wouldn't allow it. Do you know why? Because she felt like there was no possible way her own brother could actually have a heart and actually care about their mother because she was convinced that creepy toucher Tina really just wanted to be able to get their mom into their house so that they could take from her the SSI check that his sister had been stealing and misusing from their mother. Now, granted, I know what it takes to take care of another human being. I know that it costs money to do it. But what really got me was later when she no longer had care for her mother because she fucking abandoned her in a hospital where she personally said her mother was screaming the whole time. My own mother, I had to take her to the hospital when she got an infection. She saw Rudy's mother screaming in there, being sedated, being held down by shit. And you know what really gets me is that in watching it and having met their mother, I actually like their mother. I'm not fond of the behaviors and things that the choices that she made, which are similar to what they all make now, that put them in this position. But I know, at least through a series of various different interactions and stuff that Rudy has told me, that she did see what she did and she tried to apologize to all of them. Rudy was the only one who actually took it in. Now, I would have sympathy, or a lot more sympathy, for the situation of abandoning their mother in the hospital like that in a crazy fucking situation if she had not contributed to it, not accepted help, and then continued to shit talk and ruin the reputation of both Rudy and myself in an effort to make herself feel better. And so her thing was she didn't want Rudy to help because she was concerned that Tina just wanted the Social Security check, that they wouldn't really be able to take care of her mother. Now, here's the thing, I was a certified nursing assistant in dementia wards, in hospice wards. I'm fully aware of what it takes to take care of a person like that. I offered my assistance multiple times, many years in a row. Did she accept it? No, because she has a personal vendetta against her brother. It has to be him. And then by the time he actually decides to fucking help, she decides no, because it's clearly only about money, because human beings couldn't have any other motivations or things that they want. And while also sitting there saying this of Creepy Toucher Tina, is she going to do anything about Creepy Toucher Tina? No, she's just going to talk shit, because that's worked before. In any case, what got me was I was there with Rudy when his sister first started misusing their mother's SSI check. She got her into her house, not so much to help her, but because Rudy didn't have any more fucking money. He ended up quitting his job when we moved because he had such bad CPTSD attacks because of what his family and his first wife did to him that he didn't work for a while. I actually encouraged it. He needed a fucking break, but that left his sister at a deficit because she could no longer demand his paycheck. She knew every other week, right when he get paid, she would call every fucking payday. Can I borrow $600? Can I borrow $300? Can I borrow $1,000? And when he'd say, I really need to feed my own family and this is causing fights with me and Amanda, she'd go, oh, but please, I promise I'll get it back to you. Did she? Most of the time, no. 7 out of 10 times, no. Does she even have any fucking sympathy for what she's done? Or any sort of acknowledgement? No. Of course not. Because she never does any wrong, right? Wrong. Anyways, the thing that got me was after her mother was abandoned in the hospital. She got called out by the state, by the social worker, for saying, you cannot keep using that money. And of course, instead of being in a place of like, yeah, you know what, that's fair, because I was calling out my brother and his person for doing the very same thing, you know what, instead she said that she was feeling unfairly treated because nobody could possibly understand how much it cost to take care of a mother when that really wasn't the reason that she didn't have any fucking money. It was mostly just being misspent, and she's determined to stay in a house she can't afford on her own without a man, according to her. I have a feeling she could. She's pretty tenacious. I'm actually amazed that she did not follow through with the businesses that she had, but much like Rudy, while she's hypocritically being self righteous, she also feels like she's trying to care for everybody else. And so instead of putting herself first and creating a stable situation where she doesn't have to worry about that shit, she blames everybody else, especially Rudy. Oddly enough, it's like, really, are you in love with your brother? That's pretty fucking crazy. I mean, you can try to call me a stalker and call me unstable, but I would say that fits the definition of unstable far better than me sharing my emotions on Facebook or YouTube. And then here's the thing, like, you're giving your mom to the state. You've abandoned her. You've left her to be shackled and chained. You've told everybody that she's crazy. So here's the thing. I might have actually believed that if it weren't for the fact that I watched her intentionally drive her brother crazy. And then it makes me wonder, well, she's sitting there telling everybody that either I'm gaslighting people or have been gaslit, and so nobody should listen to me. Are you positive that you didn't just do the most fucked up thing to your mother ever in her final fucking days? Because I think that's pretty fucked up. I'm not overly fond with my mom, and I'd still never fucking do that. Anyways, so when she gets called out by the social worker about, you can't keep that money, it's not yours, she was offended, because then what's she going to do? I want to say it was probably, I don't know. You know what gets me is I watched her go through the years of like, her mom got into paranoia for a while. She had this thing where she thought that everybody was potentially the FBI and chasing after her, including me and some of Rudy's actually good friends. It was usually the actual good people that got pegged with this. And she was supposedly owed some money from a car accident. And so his sister decides to help. But her form of help was, let me take over your life so I can have your money. because I'm in a shitty financial position, and even Rudy's money is not enough. Even the guys that I'm with, who I complain that say that they never fucking help me, and guys that I pick that are either also abusive or alcoholics, are not helping me. Gee, go figure, honey. I wonder why they're not helping you. Anyways, which I know I can say because she makes the same fucking criticisms about Rudy and everybody else. It's like, it's time to take your own medicine, sweetheart. Anyways, when that happened, Rudy and I watched her take that money, and it still, for some reason, did not go into her house. In fact, I distinctly remember going out with her several times where she spent most of her time out at a bar at Goofy's. Which I'm not saying, like, you should go and have fun. You should do that. But you should also not sit there and blame your brother for your financial problems when that's the way you're spending your fucking money. Because bars are expensive. So is flirting with all sorts of guys in there to try to make your other fucking guys jealous, or because you don't feel whole unless you're in a relationship. So you really don't have a fucking right to complain or blame anybody else for why you have financial problems. You made the decisions that you made. Nobody fucking forced you. And so then she starts getting her mom's money. Makes her mom move in with them, which was probably a good idea because their mom was going to likely burn the house down accidentally, and she was a hoarder. But then, instead of actually being the adult that she complains that nobody else is, she just started taking more of her money. And then she went through and did the work to make sure that her mom got what she was owed from the state and stuff. But did her mom get any of it? Not really. No. The only thing that she really got was the groceries and the milk that she got while her daughter sat there complaining about how hard it was to make sure that she had milk while she was peeing in her cups and things like that, which I kind of get. When you have somebody who's not listening to you and is treating you like you're fucking crazy no matter what you do and shit like that, I mean, what else you got to do? Especially when you're old and you have been told, everybody's been told that you're too crazy to have a mind of your own. Like, yeah, I've got some choice words about the shit that their mom did to them growing up, but it doesn't make me feel much better when I see the same people doing the same shit in return and refusing to be accountable for it. So then she goes and uses up all that money, and it's still not enough. It's still not enough. So then she blames her oldest son for not contributing and using a bunch of money and having addiction problems. Gee, I wonder why he's got problems. I don't think it's the lack of good example from Rudy and their other brother. I think it's the lack of good example from their mother, which is the same shit that I take in accountability when my children are not behaving well. It's on me. Anyways, so when that shit's going on, I actually encouraged Rudy. I feel bad. I encouraged him to try to continue to work with it because I knew that his sister had been just as messed up as he was. And I was like, let's try to go about it a different way with different boundaries. But the more that he tried to have healthy boundaries, the more emergencies that his sisters had and then other people had that were connected to them. And he has the hardest time saying no to anybody who's sitting there saying that they're going to hurt themselves if they don't get his help, if they don't get his time, if they don't get his money. The same fucking people that go around and betray him, not just behind his back, but like openly to his face. And yet he still has the heart to want to help them and to not talk shit about them. That's one of my favorite things about him. He looks for the good in everybody and doesn't talk shit about people. All these people that have been betraying him for fucking decades, including torturing him as a kid. That to me is pretty fucking incredible. In any case, and it's also what tells me when they sit there trying to suggest that it's bad of him that although he wasn't talking shit about me, that he wasn't defending me. It's like, one, I'm aware that's not a very high quality that he didn't defend me, but I'm also aware of the character and content in y'all's hearts. I've watched you screw each other out of money. I've watched you screw up his whole fucking life. And then now, that's where he was. So when his sister ended up into a bind, because Rudy was round up with Tina and his sisters had contributed to a shitty relationship with that and were using me to make him feel bad. Like she literally told me that she had decided to start coming over here. At first it was, oh, because, he brought you into our lives and 15 years is a long time. What does he think? That we're just going to not be there? Yeah, I actually did think that because that's the way you all fucking do it to all the rest of your fucking siblings, exes and shit. I did assume you were going to do that. I didn't assume that he assumed that. I assumed that you were going to be like you have always fucking been. But after that, then she wanted to complain about how Rudy was not helping her. And I encouraged him to help her. I watched him send texts to try to be helpful. She didn't listen. She didn't answer. She didn't want to because she was paranoid as fuck that the only reason that people might actually want to help with their mother was to take the money that she was stealing and misusing because she put herself in a shitty financial position. And we can't possibly put our pride down and say, maybe I need to get a different house in a different place. Maybe I need to choose a job that actually makes me feel good about myself. Maybe I need to go to therapy and deal with my paranoia and the fact that I have a weird love thing going on with my brother that is like an Oedipus complex that is kind of ruining my and his life. Maybe I gotta go to therapy because instead of acknowledging that other people around me have emotions, I keep calling them emotional, or I keep calling them dramatic, and telling other people not to stand up for themselves when people I know are threatening them in real fucking ways. And then, as she continued to use me to try to upset Rudy and get in the middle of their relationship, they're over there saying that because I'm being authentic and saying, yeah, I still have feelings in there. It's still hard and I'm worried about him and I'm worried about his connection with our kids, that I'm just obsessed. Gee, obsessed. Yes, that sure seems like a thing for me, right? While you're sitting there telling me that you don't see me as dramatic, you see me as quite rational and sane. Well, you're copying me, getting into astrology because your life is unstable and you don't want to come across as needy and anxious as your best friend that you shit talk. So you try to look it up on your own, not really understanding most of it, but attempting to learn because you see that it helped me because that was a healthy choice to make rather than stalking or spying or shit talking people. And I realized along the way, most of his family, and most of these people, and creepy toucher Tina, and bully Sheila, I should say abuser Sheila, were noticing I really am a good fucking person, even with my shadows, even with this bratty bitchy video that I'm making. I am a fucking good person. I make good choices. I choose to go for the healthiest thing, not the thing that is the most self serving, most of the time. My rule is 80%. If you're making good choices 80% of the time overall in your overall life, you got some room in there. You got 20% in there that, you're human. You have shadow sides and shit like that. That you might have some moments of brattiness and bitchiness and self righteousness. Where I have a problem is people that spend 80% of their time being shadowy. And even in the 20% of time that they might be being good, it's usually only because either they got caught or they ended up around somebody like me who they can clearly see is doing better emotionally and in other ways. That, like, you know how many calls that I got from his sister when her son started doing DoorDash and shit, complaining constantly that he was just wasting money and not doing any good, and just like his horrible father, talking shit about her own fucking son, who's already clearly struggling to try to feel some sort of self love for himself. I feel fucking bad for him. I wondered what happened to him. Now I know. Anyways, because of that, now here we sit in this situation, which is just such a lovely situation, isn't it? Either way, I feel good about me. I've not made 100% good choices in my life, but because I was surrounded by these pirates and potatoes and self righteous hypocrites, I decided to make a series of great decisions over my life, starting early on, and then enhanced by when they bullied me with the stalker thing. While they were stalking their own brother and me and shit like that. And then going around laughing when their friends did something she called booping, a nurse friend that she used to like to have guys. There's a socket up above the scrotum where when a boy is young and before the balls descend, that the pockets still sit there. And one of her favorite things to do was to suggest she was going to give a guy a blowjob and then push their balls up into that socket, which can cause injury, but mostly it's just extremely fucking uncomfortable. But that's psychological torture. They've talked about how this person has done a whole ton of things, including trying to intentionally give people herpes and do other shit like that. Has They laughed. They thought it was fucking hilarious, including when it happened to Rudy. And I mean, really, like if you want to talk shit about people or you want to talk about the content of somebody's heart and character, whether or not they're a stable person. It's unstable enough that you have friends and you allow people to be in your lives who find that sort of behavior acceptable. But I would say it's a fair bit more unstable to laugh at that, to encourage that, to go around stalking people and then accuse them of being the stalkers when they're actually being good people. And I suppose the thing that makes me feel good, at very least, as the hawks are out here, reminding me to think about the overall bigger picture, like a grown woman does, is that light and love always win. And they win because it's not about winning. They win because it's about goodness. And I'm really, really like I was thinking about this the other day. I am so excited for like this next 20 years. Because no matter whether they trap Rudy or turn my youngest son against me by trying to tell him that I'm unstable, whether they ever get the actual fucking balls to take me to court or own their fucking shit and grow as people like I have been doing, like a grown ass woman and a grown ass man would fucking do, is that in the end, at least everybody knows. Because even if they could manage to twist all sorts of shit up and make up evidence that, quite frankly, I know they don't have, because they cheat on people, they do criminal things, and then they delete the evidence. So they never had anything on me to begin with, and in order to even pretend to have something on me, they would have to fabricate it because they're not smart. And then they go around talking about how other people aren't smart. Do you know how many fucking people I have heard on that end have talked about how not smart Tina is, how not smart Rudy is? And I'm sitting there thinking, you're not very smart either if you think about other human beings that way. But then I kind of get it. Like, you're not smart. You leave evidence everywhere. And the only reason that you fucking do that is because you haven't run into somebody like me who would be willing to go down just to make sure that everybody fucking knows about it. Because people actually listen to me because I'm a good person. And I don't go around doing shit like this unless it's absolutely risking lives and the emotional well being of children, as it is. So, if they ever get the actual fucking courage to take me to court and actually try to do something, I look forward to it because what the court's going to do is say that we all need to go into therapy. I love therapy. It's a chance to work on myself and do more. And I acknowledge that I could have made a whole lot of more mature choices. The only reason, actually, I feel like I did make a mature choice. The only reason that I did not simply say I'm taking the kids and going is because I knew that they were sabotaging him. I knew that they were lying to him. And I knew that they were encouraging the repeat of the cycle that they had with their own father, partly subconsciously, but also intentionally. And that's where I said, why am I protecting these people? Why am I not talking about this stuff? If I really am the person that I say that I am, then I should be that person they weren't expecting. That would actually talk about this shit. That does actually care about the fucking kids. And that actually is brave enough to do it. Whether they really come and beat me up, whether they send more people to steal my fucking shit, whether they turn more people against me, whether they actually force Rudy to take his own fucking life because of this incredible fucking immaturity, I would rather become a martyr and go into jail or go in and be called unstable because at least everybody knows now. And at least everybody else has the opportunity to be able to learn to talk about their own stories. And I've already seen more people, because of what I've said, start standing up to their own fucking bullies. It's a pretty fucking American thing to do. And it's also protected by freedom of speech, whistleblowing laws, and because I typically am praying for people when I'm talking, including right now in my bratty moment, it's also protected by freedom of religion. So, even if they could twist something to try to cover their asses, because of course that's their priority, instead of saying, oh, gee, yeah, you know what? Just like I criticize other people for doing shitty things, maybe I should look at my own fucking shit. No, no, we can't possibly be mature and do shit like that. No, instead it's, how do I cover my ass? Who do I blame for the choices that I made? How do I possibly punish Amanda worse by using her children to try to create more shitty situations? Or in the case of Creepy Toucher Tina, how do I get everybody to go away so I can keep creepy touching people? I'm really glad to know that that really was the biggest thing. Like, the other stuff is there. But clearly, I mean, she's talked in front of me, and his sisters told me that she said a whole lot fucking worse, that she takes pride in being domestically violent. She loves threatening her own fucking children in front of my children and everybody else with violence. She loves instigating violence with her exes, with everybody else. So, of course, not a big fucking deal to have somebody talk about that. It just feeds her narcissistic ego going, that's right, I am fucking scary. But then when you talk about the inappropriate touching in a mature way, the two things she goes for is she says, well, I'm using big words that she can't understand. Honey, that's what a fucking thesaurus is for. And you can sit there and say all day long that I talk a lot and I use big words, but what does it really say about the fact that you are much more willing to sit there and complain, you poor baby, you, that you can't understand bigger words? Use a fucking thesaurus, a dictionary, any of it. Even Rudy learned how to do that. Me being smart is not meant to be, it's not meant to make you feel inferior. I'm smart because I'm smart, and I like being smart, and I like learning new things just to learn new things. If you feel triggered by that, that's for you to work on and for you to heal. And it probably shows that you would feel better if you got more educated instead of belittling your own fucking children for not wanting to finish school, which quite frankly is kind of a crock these days, while they're watching Rudy make shit ton of money to afford your drugs and your creepy touching and your luxury Seahawk shit and all your extra fucking TVs and making sure that your children have the biggest bedrooms in your fucking house and their own apartment that Rudy pays for, while my children get zero fucking time or attention from him because, as you have told everybody, including him, it makes you feel insecure. I'm really glad to know that it's the creepy touching thing that really, really offends you, because that tells me that is what you are doing. And as you go on over time, I know that you're going to continue to do that. And while I do not like the fact that my son was willing to trust you enough to go over there to find out for himself how he was, and you're going to sit there and love bomb him and creepy touch him. I don't like that that makes him a sacrifice for this. But you know what? I'm going to make sure it counts. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to write about it. I'm going to make sure that kids do not be put in this position again because you don't want to get help, creepy toucher Tina. Because it's you who needs to grow. And I genuinely do pray for you. It's got to be a painful fucking world to feel like you're that broken and that much of a fucking victim that you would find it justifiable to do that to kids and to good people like Rudy. Especially, he already gets it enough from his own fucking family. It's the same thing to the rest of y'all groupies that are watching me too. I pray for you. I hope that this karma and the rest of the karma for the ways that you have been helps you learn the empathy and the humility to be able to own your own fucking shadows. Stop stalking people, stop creepy touching people, and stop using children and putting them down to make yourselves fucking feel better. It's not appropriate. It's time to grow up. Be big boys and big girls and put your big panties and big boy panties and big girl panties on. Stop calling other people pussies when you are the biggest fucking ones of all. And also, this is 2021. Using people's genitalia to try to manipulate and control them is unhealthy as fuck. So, I love y'all. I pray for y'all. I hope that out of all of this, you actually learn to grow and stop hurting people in the ways that you bitch and moan that you've been hurt, that have put you in such a detriment that you don't feel you can get better. Trust me, you can if you stop acting like that. But, I can't control y'all, just like you can't control me. And the nice thing is, control's never been my thing, outside of, like, consensual, negotiated, kinky dynamics. Never been my thing. I don't need to control anything. I don't like the idea that you're using my son to get away from your shit, and that's probably going to hurt him. But you know what? If it means making sure that everybody knows from here on out how y'all really are, that's more important. Because I otherwise cannot help the res kid that was stolen. I cannot help Rudy's daughter. I cannot help his sister's kids. I cannot help anybody. If I am unwilling to be willing to put my pride down, to be willing to talk about it, and to allow my son to go into that situation and get hurt, finding out that they lied to him, trying to make him feel like his mom was too crazy to be safe to talk about. But you know what? If it means that me and our boys are free from this circusry and this piratery and stalkers and bullies and people who actually fucking are scary, it's worth it. If it means that the other kids actually feel like somebody fucking sees that it's not their fault, that their lives are fucked up, it's worth it. If it helps even one fucking person to listen to this and feel like there is people in the world who do see that you got hurt, and also they're all the same people that say you can change and it is on you once you are a fucking adult to heal that shit. If it helps one fucking person, I have done my job in a beautiful fucking way. I am proud. Because one, I don't think I'm going to go down because I'm not doing anything wrong. And two, even if I do, even if you fucking twist it to make me into a bad person to cover up your own bullshit, it's fucking worth it. So, I love you all. Groupies, stalkers, and then my actual fans, my actual people who have been watching me build this fucking business, putting my time into beautiful things, into love, into healing, into helping people. Thank you. Because you get extra of my love. Because you are also trying to grow. So, we're almost into 3 hours. I'm going to end this here. Bye, y'all.